I'm really serious. I think that's a good idea.
Just talking? Well, what's the show about?
It's about nothing.
No story?
No, forget the story.
You gotta have a story.
Who says you gotta have a story?
Some men aren't looking for anything logical, like money. Some men just want to watch the world burn.
Instead, only try to realize the truth. There is no spoon.
There is no spoon.
I'll tell you what it's worth. Not a damn thing. It's a waste of time.
Hello. Welcome to Frivolous Fandom with Mike and Kev. I'm Mike.
I'm Kev.
And tonight we have a special guest.
Yeah, our special guest is Kiemo tonight.
His name is Kiemo. It's sorta like the therapy, but it's also nothing like the therapy.
He will neither give you cancer nor take it away from you.
I mean,
At least we hope.
Yeah.
He's
no guarantees. I'm going to just put an asterisk on that one because I'm not getting sued after this. Who knows? Who knows what's going to happen?
so listening to this
The
will
night
not
is
be
young.
good for anybody's cancer, is what you're telling me.
Hey, it might be good, might be bad. Your mileage may vary. Don't sue me. That's all I got to say. The night is young. Who knows what's
Tropes,
going to happen?
When the guest brings
tropes,
a TV
tropes.
trope within the first 10 seconds of him being on the show,
We got a high five.
that's a good guess right there. That's high five worthy guess.
We
Kiemo.
have a cowbell ring whenever a trope gets.
I got a
yelled
fever.
out.
And the only prescription
It's more cowbell.
is more TV trope. No. So, Kiemo, you are our very first guest here on the Frivolous Fandom.
That I am.
That is a great honor. I can't think of anyone better to be on it. Tell the audience a little bit about yourself so I can get to know you a little bit better.
All right. Well, I am a game design student trying to learn how to program. Kind of really my fandom that I've been going off on lately has been Tarantino movies. I thought we'd talk a little bit about that tonight.
Oh, you want to talk about Totinos?
Oh, I want to talk some Tino tonight.
You
if that's
want
cool
to
with you
talk
guys.
Tino? That's
I was
fine by
hoping.
me.
I was hoping, yeah.
That's the thing.
Hope you're all in the mood for pizza rolls.
Okay, so bust out your Totinos so we can talk about Tarantino. Our whole thing when we bring a guest onto our show is we want to sort of, facilitate their needs a little bit, talk about what they want to talk about.
Yeah.
We want to pick your brain.
It just so happens that you picked a great topic, so we will run with that.
Okay.
I might have to veto some guests, but our inaugural guest brought his A game, I see.
Yeah, here we go, yeah.
So, explain to us a little bit more. So, what do you mean when you say we're going to be talking about Tarantino?
So, I heard that when we were going to be talking about Tarantino that I would need to be doing some convincing tonight, you know. Thought I'd have to kind of bring out what I think is best about Tarantino, kind of bring it to the table, show you guys what I think makes him like a great director.
So
are we going favorite movies?
What we're doing tonight is we're doing favorite scenes. These are my top 5 favorite scenes from Tarantino movies.
top 5 scenes.
Yeah. Now, I showed these to you guys before the show, so you guys kind of have an idea
It's true.
of what we're talking here. Now, you guys have seen probably like half of them or so before. A couple of them.
Couple new ones.
I consider myself a Tarantino fan, and there were ones that I had not seen.
It's true. Now, yeah, and you're right. You have a little bit of convincing to do tonight. I mean, you already did the convincing because I watched the scenes. But
Yeah.
through this discussion,
Yeah.
you will convince not only me, because I'm one of those people who I really do appreciate what Tarantino does a lot. But in terms of complete bodies of work and whole movies,
You're a little fancy.
I'm a little fancy.
Yeah.
Because there were times of Inglorious Basterds, for instance, where I was loving it and I thought this was brilliant.
Yeah.
And then there was just one too many times where I didn't get it and it just wasn't serving the story in any way and
Yeah.
it wasn't as brilliant as some of the prior scenes and it sort of deflated it a little bit.
Yeah, it's hard to carry on like an almost 3-hour movie, so I can
Right.
totally understand it.
Right.
Not to mention that half of those scenes were completely overtly homages to various classic film techniques and directors from the European
And
film
hey,
school.
and there you have it. I am not cultured. Foreign film, what is reading? That's unheard of. That's uncalled for.
Yeah.
We should be. I watch
we're
movies to watch.
repping
movies.
ASU very, very, very positively.
So, okay. So with that being said, we're doing scenes because, you know, personally I find Tarantino to be a director of scenes more so than movies.
Yeah.
I know you were saying earlier that you kind of thought that maybe Tarantino, he has these brilliant ideas for scenes, so he thinks of all these scenes he wants to do, like crazy scenarios, and sort of builds a story around the scenes sometimes.
Like, almost as if, like, the scene was the reason that he wanted to, like, get his camera out in the first place. He was like, I got this awesome scene in mind, and the guy's gonna tell this story, and
he's like, I kind of want to do a diner scene where, like, the guy kind of stops to hold up at the diner and says some crazy biblical shib. And then I sort of want to do a different scene where, like, he's threatening a guy, but meanwhile he's eating his fast food for him, and then complimenting him on his tasty burger. He's like, that could be the same character. That's one character right
that
there.
could be one person.
Well, and it would be really funny if somebody randomly got shot in the back of a car. That'd be just hilarious.
Yeah.
Right, because
gun randomly
the
going
reaction
off.
would be like, everyone knows the scene we're talking about, especially when you have no attachment to the person.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Like, what would, and you don't have no qualms with killing, like,
turning it into a humorous scene.
That might be the most
their reaction
accurate.
is great.
That might be the most accurate hitman. You know, psychological profile to work with. You know, just like, oh,
literally, they're just like,
whoops,
oh,
sorry.
this is an inconvenience
Yes.
now. I don't care that you just murdered a person.
Yeah, he's like, this is my car.
Like,
you got
man,
blood all over my interior.
you got blood all over my car.
You got brains all over the
Man,
back
you know I just put 22-inch rims on a Chevy Impala, and now you gotta go and ruin it.
You know how hard blood is to get out of suede, man?
Man, you scrubbing that every inch of that.
Baking soda.
I
Here
think
we
we're
go.
paraphrasing the scene at this point.
Yeah, we kind of are.
Basically, a complete accurate retelling.
I mean, I already know the answer to this question, but is that one of your scenes?
No, that was actually not one of my scenes. It's tough. I wanted to make sure that the top 5 that I brought to the table for you guys tonight were unique to each movie, so I had to choose one from Pulp Fiction. So we'll get to which one that was going to be.
Smattering, if you will.
Yeah, but like that. Yeah.
See, I have a feeling that a true Tarantino fan can't limit it to merely 5.
Yeah,
A true fan.
there's so many. And yeah, if I had like a top 10 or something, I'd have to grab a couple from Pulp Fiction, because Pulp Fiction is just a collection of great scenes, just back to back to back.
Right, but in the interest of time, we've limited you to 5.
Yeah, I have a feeling that this thing could go on for hours if we brought it to that.
No.
I've got a Whose Line Is It Anyways reference. Welcome to Tarantino films, where the plot doesn't matter and everything's made up.
Wait, you trying to tell me that Tarantino movies are fiction?
You're
You
saying
mean that Jamie
Inglorious
Foxx didn't free the
Basterds
slaves? Is that what
didn't
you're trying to
happen?
tell me right
You
now?
know,
They didn't gun down Hitler in a theater.
I mean, that's what I read in my history book. I don't know which one you guys are
You know
reading.
what? You believe what you want to believe. I'm gonna believe Jamie Foxx freed the slaves.
Well, I like the theory that I think I read on Cracked that like all of the Tarantino movies exist in the same universe.
You know what? I read that, but we literally can't go into that.
Yeah, that's another podcast.
That's a rabbit hole.
That's a huge rabbit hole. I did read that though.
Yeah.
And now that I need to watch some of the other movies, but like, you know, I was reading one of the facts that there's a waitress from Reservoir Dogs that's in Pulp Fiction.
Yeah.
And one of the Vega brothers, right?
Yeah, Vincent Vega from Pulp Fiction is like cousins or something with Vic Vega from Reservoir Dogs.
Right.
I mean, if you're into Tarantino, you're listening at home, you could definitely look up that Cracked article. It's pretty interesting.
Well, isn't it, he says that like Pulp Fiction, Reservoir Dogs, and Jackie Brown are like a trilogy in a way. I mean, not a strict trilogy, but he borrows like a lot of characters and stuff. Like they exist within the same world. And then I was reading something. I mean, this is Wikipedia, which I take as the Bible. Some people disagree. He was saying something about how he considers Inglorious Basterds Django, and he's gonna make another. I didn't really make sense for that to be a trilogy because Inglorious Basterds and Django are like 100 years apart.
They deal with
like 50 years apart.
I think they're dealing with massive chunks of oppression.
Yeah.
Which actually makes me
I
curious.
think thematically it's a trilogy.
And just like an ultra-violent culture, like that kind of thing.
So who is he going to do next?
Like an ultra-violent take, like pseudo-history, where obviously
Yeah.
it's inspired by history. But it's
That
not.
kind of just leaves Native Americans.
What?
So like the Jews in the Holocaust.
Oh yeah.
Well, no, wasn't it African Americans again? Wasn't that crazy? What was the movie called, Kiemo? The new one that was rumored.
Hateful Eight.
Hateful Eight was about African Americans again, correct?
It was a western. I don't know exactly what it was about. Samuel L. Jackson was supposed to be one of the 8. And then Christoph Waltz was supposed to be another one of the 8, I think.
It's with Samuel L. Jackson, and his leg gets eaten by a shark, I think.
Wait.
I would watch that.
Just kidding. We have no idea what it's about.
Okay,
but this is how he's gonna talk.
It's Tarantino. We can't discard the possibility that a cowboy gets his leg eaten by a shark.
Right. It's actually feasible.
That's not
quite feasible, in fact.
If you told me I was going to walk into Inglorious Basterds and hear about the bear Jew with a baseball bat, I would not have expected that at all. It's just random.
Right.
So much.
If I had walked into Inglorious Basterds and you told me that the Inglorious Basterds were hardly in it, I'd say that doesn't make sense, but it was true.
Yeah.
Like, where are all these bastards at, man? Bastards.
I would say specifically with an ER.
The turds.
Turds. Okay, so we got to get into it.
Yeah,
So kick us off here, Kiemo. What's the first scene we gonna get into?
First thing we're gonna get into is actually not gonna be number 5. I gotta give out a little honorable mention. I know we gotta get going here.
All right, a top 6, if you will.
Yeah, this is
With
the
an
top 5 plus
mention.
1. This is a top 5 plus 1. This little honorable mention that I had to throw out there because my list didn't have the movie Reservoir Dogs in it, and I felt like that was a crime of its nature.
So for the sake of Reservoir Dogs, which greatly deserves to be in it, but it's such a tight race.
Yeah,
we'll give you one little HM,
a freebie.
We'll give you a little
a little freebie. Yeah, a little.
Well, so how do I dramatically introduce honorable mention?
Mike, yes, take it away with your dramatic voice.
Okay, so coming up next, honorable mention, the scene from Reservoir Dogs.
Oh yeah,
the story about the Camode.
Yes, the Camode story.
The Camode.
Great opening to this scene. It just opens with the informant saying, "Did you tell him about the Camode story yet?" And it just jumps into it. It's a great little scene where Tim Roth's character, Mr. Orange. Well, I guess we should preface right now from the get-go. This is going to be a spoiler cast.
Spoilers!
Yeah, this is going to be a spoiler cast.
Spoilers!
If you haven't seen Reservoir Dogs, you're listening to this because you're interested in Tarantino. I don't know why you would be listen to this otherwise. But if you're interested in Tarantino, you haven't seen this movie,
pause it.
Whatever kind of crazy person out there that meets that requirement, you gotta just stop watching or stop listening right now.
Pause it. Go. I think Netflix it. Go download it legally.
Make some Totino's pizza rolls.
Get you some Titinos and watch you some Tino. That's the recipe that we need you to follow. Yeah. Come back to us and then let's tea some Tino right now.
And if you need to, grab a pen and paper to remember which character is which color.
Yes. Yeah. No. Better yet, grab a box of crayons and remember which character is which color. So Tim Roth is Mr.
Orange.
Mr. Orange.
Yeah. Mr.
Now,
Orange.
why is he Mr. Orange in the first place? Why is that his moniker?
They give them random names.
Who's they?
This would be I can't remember the name of the main guy. This would be like kind of the mob.
Mob boss, if you will.
Mob boss.
Okay.
He had just randomly kind of given out names to people. Just gave them all different colors.
Right. Doesn't matter. It's just not their
does not matter. There's some fun dialogue in there about them arguing what color they wanted to be and all that.
I don't want to be Mr. Brown.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to be Mr. Poop.
Yeah. Mr. Brown was, of course, given to Quentin Tarantino, I believe. And he didn't last too long in that movie, unfortunately.
He sort of gets browned on, if you will.
Yeah, he gets a little browned on.
That'd be a valid point to protest me getting Mr. Brown, because if I get Mr. Brown, it's like, I'm going to die very early into the story. Whoops,
right.
Whoops, I just penetrated the fourth wall.
I'm just saying, brown people don't live very long in horror movies. Rest in peace, Carl Weathers.
So, Tim Roth, Mr. Orange in this.
So,
no real
so
reason.
there's a mob boss.
Yeah.
He's given everyone fake names.
That's
fake
right.
identities.
Yeah. So that they can all rob this diamond store. They're trying to rob this jewelry store, get all these diamonds.
Okay, so they're gem heist, basically.
Yeah, this is gonna be, it's all about this heist. The men that make up this crew, I think it's like 5 or 6 guys, They all are supposed to get together and steal all these diamonds. It's supposed to be a really easy job. In and out. No one knows their names. Not even the criminals themselves know each other's names. It's supposed to be a really easy job.
Right.
You know, they all refer
So
to each other.
get
by
in,
their
get
color.
out, get on with your life.
Exactly. But unfortunately, it becomes a movie because guess what? There are some complications.
There's a snitch.
Complications. There is a snitch. Mike is right.
There's some rising action.
There's some rising action. I even hear there's some falling action.
Oh no!
Not
Tarantino movie. There's no strict climax.
I say not much of a denouement.
Yeah,
Really.
no real lesson to be learned other than you can have a lot of fun.
Not too much denouement, but there's a little bit. You got some ends closing, some ties.
I appreciate a man
tying.
who doesn't get too bogged down in denouement. He's like, he admits it. I don't care
Yeah.
about no denouement.
Yeah,
There is one take-home message though. Children, be careful with straight razors.
Yeah, unless you want to pull the old Van Gogh or something, and go.
So
you do you. Is
There
what I
are
would
other
say.
ways
You
to be
do
So let me
artistic.
get this straight. You tell me that Tarantino is so radical that he has a movie with characters
Oh yeah.
and some rising action and some conflict?
I would even go so far as to contend to you that there is a plot.
Oh, there's a plot.
man.
There is a plot. No, but
That's just not done.
How does he think of this? No, I'm just kidding. Respect. It's actually really brilliant. This scene.
it's a good one, and this is one of his earliest works. But yeah, Mr.
Things go
Orange-
wrong with the heist, essentially.
Yeah, and it is because of Mr. Orange that
Mr.
everything
Orange.
kind of goes wrong. Mr. Orange is the actual snitch, it turns out.
Of course.
So all the complications ensue that basically are like kind of most punishing towards him. I mean, a lot of people kind of face these repercussions, but his character kind of takes it the worst, arguably.
Right.
He is the one that kind of cost it all.
Okay, so he cost it all.
And Mr. Orange gets this great flashback scene, which is the one we're talking about today,
Right.
where
Because you can't see this beforehand.
yeah.
Being that it is a Tarantino movie, but also that it wouldn't have its twist, right?
Yeah.
So this is the twist, is this flashback scene.
Take
Yeah,
notes,
yeah.
Shyamalan.
Right.
In
So what you're telling me is the whole point of the movie wasn't a twist, it was just an added little bonus here.
yeah, like
Mr. Shyamalan, that's not a plot, those are twists.
this is a
Or what was it from
this-
South Park?
Yeah, that was it.
Oh yeah,
That's not story development.
that's just a bunch of twists.
Michael Bay. These are just stunts.
Yeah, these are just special effects. But I digest. So here comes a twist in a flashback form.
Yeah. So he is kind of set up in this scene as telling this story to convince all of his other kind of co-workers, his compatriots, that
His cohorts.
his cohorts, that he is part of this criminal lifestyle, and his fake story that he kind of comes up with, and that he has to memorize and act out over and over again.
So the scene starts out. He doesn't make it up though, right? Or
No.
the guy, was it who was the other guy? Was he a policeman himself?
That was he was his like informant.
His
his, like,
informant,
kind of-
right? Gives
yeah.
him the script, right?
I don't know the cop term, but it's like a handler for an
Right.
operative.
Yeah,
Right.
that sounds better. I guess he wasn't the informant.
So
I guess
he,
Mr.
so
Orange was
basically, he
more
gives him
informant.
this script. He says, "You got to learn this, but you got to own it. Like you got to add to it."
Yeah,
Basically, right?
yeah. This has to be your baby. You know,
Right.
You have to figure this out.
Right.
So he has to kind of tell this story that is basically he has to do like a drug deal, and he has to pretend that he was a drug dealer, and he has to come up with this interesting story where he comes up with a brick of pot, and he is picking it up at the train station, and after he picks it up, he goes into the bathroom to go relieve himself.
Okay.
Yeah, he goes to the Camode to relieve himself, and when he walks in, there's 4 police officers and a German Shepherd sitting in the bathroom,
Right.
just waiting for him. That's kind of what he feels like when he comes in there. His paranoia is kicking in, and he sees all of these police officers just kind of sitting around.
So basically, this is a made-up story. So for the sake of interest, to make himself sound more hardened of a criminal,
Yeah,
basically the story reaches its peak with him going into this bathroom, right, with the cops. And so it's like, oh my goodness, I had to maintain my composure and do my criminal business with these cops around. And a German Shepherd, for goodness sake.
Yeah.
But this is fake.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
This is part of a script. So the beauty of this scene, in my opinion, is the way it builds. Right?
Yeah.
So
It gets the audience worried about, oh my god, are they gonna
So-
check him?
basically the informant gives him this script.
Yeah.
He starts reading to the informant, and he's literally just reading it. He's like, okay, so I'm drug dealer. Like, starts reading it.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, it cuts very fluidly
Yeah.
to himself in his room, where
Yeah.
you kind of get. It's funny because you find out he's a Silver Surfer poster. He's this nerd.
Yeah, he kind of like humanizes him a little
Humanize
bit.
him, but also actually lends the credibility that he's gonna love this. Actually, kind of in a subconscious sense, he's gonna love having to add to this story.
Whereas initially he's like, are you serious? Like, I'm a cop.
This is
Why
a
the
horrible
hell?
idea.
And then he's like, this is kind of fun.
So right, so it cuts to him in his room. He's kind of pacing.
Yeah.
And I like the way they do this shot because they keep, like, and we'll discuss this a whole lot more as we go. But the whole thing with Tarantino, he's real particular with his cuts. Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm taking me saying this is gonna make it seem like I'm the one that brought this insight. Kiemoe is the one explaining this to me before the podcast. That his shots are very deliberate, right? Is basically what you're explaining it. And it was cool because I had that in mind, basically the whole time we're watching these scenes. And so I like how he keeps the camera there, and you just see him pacing. He kind of walks out of the shot for a little bit. And you just kind of get an eye at all the posters in his room.
Yeah.
His Silver Surfer. I'm trying to remember what other posters he had. That one's the one that really stuck in my mind.
Yeah, that was always
He's
one
comic
that
book
stuck with
nerd.
me. Yeah.
It was obscure, and that was probably
A
to
bunch
make
of
it-
obscure stuff, yeah, which is Tarantino, probably.
Yeah.
He probably had a ball dressing in this guy's room.
Yeah.
Yes.
But yeah, so he starts pacing, and as he's pacing, he's getting more confident in it. And he's
Yeah.
like, oh, this girl, she's begging me to do this deal. And I'm just like, no way, I'm not feeling it. And then all of a sudden, it cuts to him at the bar
Yeah.
telling these mobsters,
Yeah.
these other gangsters that he's about to do this job with.
You know,
Tell the story.
this is his job application, essentially.
Yeah.
Right.
These are real criminals who have real questions for his thought process, methodology, and practice in this fake story.
Right.
And if you don't get the job, you die.
Yeah. If we get an inkling or a snitch, whoosh, sleeping with the fishes. So to
Yeah,
speak.
it's a great transformation
Well, and
from
he-
the unsure of himself sort of character where he's reading it off a piece of
Right.
paper at the beginning with his Silver Surfer poster in the background to reading it in front of his handler and then reading in front of these mobsters. You see his kind of comfortability
Right.
kind of grow as the scene goes on and as the story unfolds.
Well, and he even uses real life, like, that the best fiction integrates real life stuff. Right. And so he brought in, he's like, oh, you guys remember the drought in '84? Nobody had any weed. So, and you know, all the mobsters like, yep, that was a bitch, you know, da da da.
Yeah, man. Tough times.
Right?
I kind of know what Joseph felt like.
Yeah.
7 years of drought. No,
And then the scene will eventually kind of transform into
Right, it's-
actually showing him
right
in
when
this
he hits
bathroom.
the apex of it's funny because he's gradually getting more into his story. He's even himself starting to believe the story.
Yeah.
So when he reaches the apex, he is just his animation, his gesturing, everything is selling this story.
Yeah, once even the audience believes the story to be true, they have forgotten the fact that 5 seconds before they had told him that this is a made up story.
Yeah.
Then he is so confident in it that you think that this is real, and then it jumps into it, and you are in the bathroom with him. The camera is is revolving around him as he's standing in the wake of these 4 police officers, a German Shepherd that's barking his head off, trying to alert the
Drugs! Drugs!
Well,
Drugs!
yeah, and I was
Exactly.
gonna say, and
Drugs!
that's the way this is so fluid is even into that part where it jumps into the scene, and he's standing there, and the dog is barking,
Drugs! Drugs, guys! Drugs! Drugs!
guys, drugs,
Drugs! Drugs!
just trying to do his job.
Drugs! You guys told me to bark when drugs! Drugs!
Squirrel. So yeah, the dog. It's great I love the way the camera is panning around the bathroom, and he's still talking. He's still telling the story. He's telling no one in
narrating.
particular now because the monster's not there. He's looking at the cops and narrating the story. And then as the story heightens and the dog starts looking at him, I think the sound cuts out. And then from that point forward, he's not telling the story. It's literally just playing out the scene.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's-
it gets to a point where there's no more need for dialogue.
There's no more context clues to even indicate this is a story. His story is so convincing.
It starts to just build in this super tense moment where dialogue wouldn't help at all.
Right.
It's just like the silence
The
of
feeling
him.
he's having.
Yeah,
Right?
him in this room, these cops telling their own story, the story within a story within a story.
Fiction.
Yeah.
Right, the whole time you're like, these cops are dicks, man.
Yeah, yeah.
They're really Tim Roth.
They're not even real, but they're dicks.
Yeah, Tim Roth is one.
He presses the hand dryer.
Oh,
after
yeah.
He washes his hands.
Yeah, because he's looking over himself. So he's like staring at the dog. He's like, okay, I came in here to go to the Camode. It's going to be suspicious if I just return and run.
Yeah,
out.
turn back off. Like,
So I guess I'm going through with this.
Yeah.
And the great thing is the cops are so into their story. What was their story?
It's a
So-
story
so
about
I was-
trying-
he was reaching his hand towards the dashboard, and I got my hand on my gun saying, buddy, can you stop moving your hand. Like, I'll put a hole in your head. It's like, okay, sure. His hand keeps going. Like, this is like really in depth.
And the great part about that story that the fake story that the fake cops are telling
Yeah.
is that, I mean, I don't want to badmouth the police because I do respect what, the good cops, I respect what they do because they're putting life on the line, but, we all have that sort of paranoia of the dirty cops. Or
Yeah.
just the jerk cops who are in it for the power,
Yeah.
the power trip. Oh yeah, now I'd shoot him in the head.
Yeah.
Trying to be so gung-ho. That's the cop we all fear, but they're
Yeah.
out there too.
And the story is kind of like told in the perspective of somebody who would just not
A drug dealer doesn't like the cops to
just
begin with.
not want to be around these guys, not want to hear what they say, and like
Right.
what they do say.
Drug dealers
is
not
exactly,
respect what the cops do.
Yeah, like this is obviously the story from the perspective of someone who is not fond of them because like the story that they tell to each other is just like what you would expect.
Stereotypical
a
dirty
cop
cop.
you would hate.
Yeah, right. Jerk cop.
Yeah. And so like
Brilliant.
it's so tense with just hearing this like this kind of like just offhanded like negative comments about just like citizens, they're just like talking
Blow 'em
so
away.
much trash.
Right.
And like he's just trying to get out. He
And
wants
the
to get out of
dog,
there.
don't they tell the dog to shut up?
Yeah, the dog they don't even
Dog, dog just sits there and glares at
Yeah.
Tim Roth, like looking at him like, you SOB.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's when Tim Roth, he's like, I guess I'll go to the bathroom then. If they're not paying attention, goes
gotta get it over.
goes
with.
wash his hands, looks, they got the reflection shot.
Yeah,
He's looking
and
in the mirror.
Washing the hands is great because it is like all of the camera work looks like it's from the perspective of Tim Roth. Like it's super close up on his hands
Right.
washing. It's just like if you were in this position, you would just be looking straight down,
Right.
looking at your hands, washing your hands, just
Right.
trying to like mind your own business.
So you're just like, let this be done. Let this be done.
Let this be
Let
done. But it's not
Just super paranoid scene right after he hits that hand dryer. Like Mike said, like. All of the sound is just washed out. You just hear the sound of the hand dryer, and like he's just looking straight ahead against the wall. But like the camera shoots to the cops, just all staring.
right.
The cops are all staring him down as
Because the
as he
dryer
dries
is
his
so
hands.
loud.
Yeah, and you just think like, oh, he hit that dryer, and like now all eyes are on him.
Right.
And then right when it ends,
But you gotta be casual. You can't just walk out of the bathroom with your hands dripping.
Oh, yeah.
That's weird too.
You have to do it. You
Yeah.
have to do
And let's
it.
be
gotta
honest,
play
you
cool.
cannot use your pant butt cheeks to dry off your hands. That's just tacky. You can't do that.
Right.
You can't do that.
He's Tim Roth. He's
Any-
still sophisticated when he's playing an unsophisticated guy.
Any respectable drug dealer would not walk out of there. So,
Plus,
yeah,
you know what? Whenever you get water on your butt, and then they're like, "You peed your pants." Like it doesn't matter where the water is on your pants. The
No, they
joke
always
is gonna
get-
be,
yeah.
"You peed your pants." And
Yeah,
who wants to do it?
but are you the one who's gonna correct them and go, no man, it's on my butt?
No man, I butt peed.
there's always the guy standing right outside the bathroom, ready to point at anyone who's got some wet pants.
Yeah, I butt peed, man. It was raunchy. You just gotta own it, like Billy Madison.
All the cool kids butt.
All the cool kids are butt peeing their pants, man.
You're not a cool kid unless you pee your pants.
You ain't cool unless you butt pee your pants. Everybody my age is butt peeing their pants.
So yeah, after that dryer kind of turns off, you notice that the story that the cops have been telling has still been going on. You can't hear it,
right.
but like the
Because then,
story
when the
continues.
audio comes back in,
Yeah, when the audio-
it picks right up where the story left off.
Yeah, so you could see that it was all just his like paranoia.
Right.
It was never he was never in any danger. Of course, this is a fake story, but you're so into it at this point that like
Right.
you really think that this is happening.
Yeah, you're on the edge of your seat. You should be on the edge of your seat, but you're on the edge of your seat for the wrong reason at this point. The reason you should be on the edge of your seat is because when it cuts back to reality, it cuts back to the bar and him telling the story, they bought it. The gangsters are all like, oh man, that is some messed up shit.
Yeah.
And that's why you should have been tense, because you're like, oh no, are they buying it? But you were actually tense because you're like, oh, is he going to be caught by these cops, these fake cops?
They put all of the intensity in the fake scene, and then you come back to it and you're like, oh yeah, I should have been super, like, concerned about the
this.
whole believability of that.
Right.
I mean, if you really wanted to look at it though, I mean, he was on the job with
right.
it. You could
I was just about to say that. Like, that's kind of the magic of Tarantino's out of order timeline shtick, is that, you know, people rag on it, but I mean, you do lose yourself in the storyline because you're not worried about what's going on.
It's because everything is too practical. Like that's what I'm saying. That story of the cops here, you're kind of like, your paranoia of cops would believe that story.
Yeah, I mean, not to get off on a tangent, but like the Pulp Fiction like does a lot of the same things where like characters will die in the middle of a movie and you see them at the end of the movie, and you really hope that they make it out of that scene.
And
even though you know,
like, who cares if they make it out of this scene?
Yeah, even though you know they die later, but you're like, I want them to like make it to the end of the movie.
The diner.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm thinking. But yeah, that's the whole scene for.
Did Samuel L. defy convention? Because I mean, based on the Carl Weathers theory, you'd have thought Samuel L. wouldn't have made it.
Yeah. Look, Samuel Jackson got out of the business.
Shark ate him, bro.
He got out of the business and survived that movie. But his surviving that movie also killed off his partner, because if he was with him at the point where his partner died, you know, that might not have happened. Might have turned into a whole different movie. But that's like a whole nother podcast.
Don't leave. Never mind.
So
we'll get to that.
So we better wrap up Reservoir Dogs. Such a good scene, though.
Great scene.
And so layered that I don't see how you get through it without a lengthy...
That's like an ogre, really. Very layered.
Come on, Shrek. Everybody loves layers.
I'll make a waffle.
Man, who doesn't love Reservoir Dogs, Shrek? Everybody loves Reservoir Dogs.
It's just like an ogre, donkey. Just got his layers.
Everybody loves parfaits. Eddie Murphy.
And that's
When's our Eddie Murphy pod? Can we just segue this into our Eddie Murphy episode? No, I'm just kidding. That's what's funny is, like, to think back, like, growing up, we kind of caught the tail end of Eddie Murphy. I wish I could have been there in, like, the 70s, because he was really... man. Sorry, podcast for another time.
Eddie Murphy...
I've just been watching, I watched Beverly Hills Cop recently, and then I was watching,
The Chosen One.
What was...
no, Coming to America.
Coming to America with, I mean, he had James Earl Jones to amp that up to another level. How? Never level. But, sorry, so I digress. So Reservoir Dogs scene, put the kibosh on that. The great thing, though, to take from that is you're getting a sense of Tarantino's knack for, the unexpected, if you will. Because when that scene starts, it doesn't play out at all like you think it's going to.
Yeah, that is, and like the amount of unexpectedness on this list just increases. From that. That was
all
just the honorable mention
here.
We are only getting started.
Yeah,
that was just a...
That was a honorable mention.
Quick HM for you.
That was a little HM1 for you. That was cut. That was the cut of the of the Tarantino list.
So now, from now on, when the actual list, mark this down, take notes, because this list will be your list if it's not already your list.
Yeah, and get ready because we're about to be zooming here.
We're zooming. We're flying.
Honorable mention was just the beginning.
We're a bunch of fly guys from here on out.
So, number 5 on the list. Oh,
okay. Which brings us to number 5. Butch goes to get back his watch in Pulp Fiction.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, snap. Wait, you mean the most critically acclaimed of all Tarantino movies? Number 5?
And yeah, this one might even be my favorite Tarantino movie, but, like, you know, like I said, like, some of the scenes are better than the movie themselves in total. Right. But Pulp Fiction, just every one of those scenes is great. I think
that's my problem with Pulp Fiction, because Pulp Fiction, more than any other movie, there's no point. Yeah. Like, that's definitely the movie where he was like, I have this scene I want to do, and I have this scene I want to do, I have this scene I want to do.
Yeah.
I want to be there when Tarantino decided, you know what, I'm going to have a character snort heroin like you would coke.
Right.
Yeah.
Somebody's done this somewhere.
Yeah.
I don't think it ended as casually. in the real life version.
I mean, to be honest, though, I don't get the name Pulp Fiction. Quick.
Yeah.
Well, actually, the reason why is because Pulp Fiction is a modern film example of a genre known as Pulp Fiction, named as such because it was targeted to the lower middle class using pulp paper. So they'd get these kind of like guy noir kind of storylines with lots of guns and cigarettes and skanky women, and it was like the gritty like wise guy fiction, but in book form. So it's kind of like, it was around the same time that Conan the Barbarian stories were being printed. It was in the same like vein and thought process of it.
So it's just like gritty, or
yeah, very gritty. As gritty and as thick and as without flavor as the paper it was printed on. But a lot of very important tropes, concepts, and American literaturisms came out of that genre. Oddly enough, even though it was intentionally geared towards. Like, it was like a guy's version of a cheap romance novel. It was a distraction, nothing more. But
oh my
it
god.
was filler, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
filler.
Oh my god. Okay, so it's filler.
Yeah. Which
Touche!
Yeah.
Tarantino, check. Well, I don't want to say mate yet, because I don't know, I can still hate on him a lot more, so I'll find a way. But, okay, well, I'll admit it. That is actually quite the fitting title.
Yeah.
So how many people, I can't be the only one, please tell me I'm not the only one that didn't know what that actually meant.
No,
I as a 10-year-old, I looked it up, because I legitimately...
That's brilliant, actually, I'll admit it.
Yeah, when I started falling in love with that movie, I know I looked it up at one point, but, like, yeah, that gets lost on me, like, every time. I forget about what Pulp Fiction means.
Brilliant. Okay. So it's thick, it's pulpy, it's pointless, it's gritty, it's...
Yeah.
He's alluding to the genre.
Yeah, like it's very similar to the kind of not the visual medium of Sin City, but the gritty, I've got a cigarette in my mouth and I'm here to kill somebody, and it's the mob infested city and yada yada yada.
I blow somebody's head off and I'm more concerned about my upholstery than the fact that
it's
dead.
it's very, very it's campy without trying to be campy.
Right.
Yeah.
So
I could see exactly why he wanted to be a part of that Sin City and have his own scene in Sin City as well.
Oh, did he have a scene?
I'm pretty sure he had a scene, right?
To the thing.
To the Google.
Mike, do the thing. So now that we understand what Pulp Fiction even is about, which I'll have to admit, whenever I tell people, I didn't really like Pulp Fiction, it just didn't really have a point. So the point was that there was no point. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, the point was just, it was like a bunch of filler.
Fitting to be on Frivolous Fandom.
Right. I mean, yeah, right. Oh my gosh. Okay, I'm a big hypocrite. I start a podcast about nothing. I'm like, I can't respect a movie that's about nothing.
So TV show Seinfeld all about?
What is this Seinfeld garbage?
It's not even about
anything. Come on, do something with your life, bro. So what's your successful comedian? All I ever see you do is be in your apartment. You're out of your apartment for the 5 to 10 seconds at the beginning and end of the episode. I want to see some more stuff where you're walking around and doing stuff.
If the man can afford to live in an apartment like that in New York City for 5 seconds of his time at a comedy club, I feel like he doesn't have to explain himself to you.
Right. Come on, bro. All I ever do is either see you go to the soup kitchen or to get the bakery. Going on about cookies and soup. That's all I ever hear from you.
Or they're going to Monks. They're always at Monks.
Right. We're gonna get a big salad. Pita Jungle, by the way, recently found out. Holy cow. I was like, yeah, don't worry, Mom. Like, I was with my mom the other day.
Yeah.
I was like, check it out, Mom. I'm your grown boy. I'll eat your salad for you. I got like, she barely ate any of it, and I was like, no, I can't help you.
That was big salad.
That's a little deflating for your masculinity when you can't quite finish the salad. You're like, come on.
Just smacking the table. Fist on the table. Come on.
I will stop the salad. Anyways, so, Elaine, you had an eating problem, because big salads are no joke.
Yeah.
So back to the point at hand. So Pulp Fiction, it's about nothing. That rant, totally about nothing.
All going full circle just to come back to Pulp Fiction.
Pulp Fiction. And
Butch picking up his watch.
Butch picking up his watch.
Number 5 on the list. That's right. 38 minutes into this.
38 minutes in. We're cooking now.
We're getting to number 5. Don't worry about
Punch it, Chewie. We're hitting ludicrous speed shortly.
Tarantino did in fact direct a whole scene.
Which scene? Because I hate that movie, but let me be corrected.
I'm trying to find out.
I'm just kidding. I don't hate Sin City. I just don't like it.
That's a fair assessment.
Like I have felt no desire to watch it again, even though like
I have an extreme
I was
desire to watch it
entertained.
again because I haven't watched it since high school.
see, I haven't watched it since post high school.
We're showing
I don't know.
our
It's
age.
been a while though. I think I watched it with you, Mike. I think it was with you.
Yeah. Well, because like I'm a big.
All right.
Yeah. So
You're big. I'm sorry.
No
I
worries.
cut you off. You're not allowed to have rants. I'm allowed to have rants.
I don't
You're a
get
big
to.
end of story. You're big.
I'm big.
It's frivolous fandom, singular, not plural. No. Fan. No.
I'm a big dude in terms of theme and flavor. Overall,
I will admit
environment.
visual flavor.
Yeah, I mean, cool, because it's like, you get sucked into that film. But that's all I'm going to say about Sin City.
Which scene though did he direct real quick?
It's not saying on Wikipedia. I'm having to pull up IMDb.
Keep at it, my friend. Whoosh, whip him to work. No, I'm just kidding. So Tino, back to Tino, Pulp Fiction.
Okay. Yeah, so Butch Getting the Watch was the one that I chose out of Pulp Fiction. I thought that this was the strongest scene out of Pulp Fiction because of the level of tension. And that's kind of one of the things that you'll notice in this list that I kind of made, is that I really, really enjoy the tense scenes that Tarantino puts together. Right. So number 5 is when Butch, who's played by Bruce Willis, ends up having to go back to his apartment and pick up the watch that was left to him by his by his father,
right.
Who it's a watch that's been passed down in the family. His father owned it before him, and his father, and he loves this watch. This watch is very important to him, so he needs to go back to his apartment and pick it up before he skips town.
Okay.
He's skipping town because
why is he skipping town, Kiemo?
Yeah, I'm about to feed you, baby bird.
Kiemo, could you feed me? Could you regurgitate a little something?
I got some right here.
Ladies and gentlemen, be glad this is a podcast.
Just wait, that vlog is going to be starting out soon.
Oh, it's coming. We're going to put that in the...
Mike, you want the third?
I'm good.
Don't worry, everyone. That'll be the thumbnail.
It'll be a GIF set only. It won't be a full video.
If we ever got you going like, and then I'm sure we could like Photoshop in some like worms, something like that.
So the magic.
We'll make it happen. We'll spin some movie.
So why is Butch
so
skipping town, Kiemo?
Butch is on the run because Butch Coolidge is...
What a good name.
Yeah, great name. Had fought this other boxer. I don't think they ever gave him his first name. His last name was Wilson because there was some presidential reference there.
Okay.
But he...
Woodrow. We'll call him.
Yeah, we'll call him Woodrow.
For the presidential.
Woody Nelson.
Yeah, Woody Nelson. He was crambling down West Texas.
Sorry, when I hear Woody Nelson, I just think of Woody Harrelson.
That's not the
I'm a
worst
big
thing
Woody
anyway.
Harrelson fan. Anyways, WN, Woody Nelson.
Yeah, Woody Nelson got beaten in a boxing match that Butch was supposed to throw. He got beaten to death.
Whoa, you're trying to tell me boxing was rigged back in the day?
Hey, might still be rigged today. But
Probably.
we're not going to get into it.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I have to divest here a little bit because, I tried to do a little bit of reading, do my part, because the Kiemo, you came prepared. I will give you that.
Hey man, I have a list that's probably like 6 lines long.
And you did indeed
This
check
is
it
like-
twice.
You even wrote down scene length. You gave a quick caption of why it was so good.
why I liked it. I went
It
full hog.
was all on the Powerpoint, really.
You went full Pumbaa, full warthog.
I went full warthog. This is the Goss warthog.
Oh my goodness! Anti-erudition.
Oh god.
But I was doing a little reading, and the thing with Pulp Fiction, and this further actually, now that I think about it, supports your fact that's about nothing. Tarantino, as we've been calling him, picked out. He deliberately picked out cliched scenes and cliched stories. So, the whole thing with Vincent Vega taking the big boss's wife out.
Yeah.
And, like, in every mob movie back in the day, that's all, you treat her with respect, you don't touch her because it's the big boss, you're dead.
Yeah.
And then another one is Butch Coolidge, the boxer, crossing the mob because he won a fight he was rigged to throw.
Exactly, yeah.
That's the exact plot of Daredevil with, Matt Murdock's dad, Jack Murdock, that's why he gets killed, is because he wins a fight that they had told him to throw. And so they ice him. And then that leads down the road to Daredevil. So I actually was just reading some Daredevil recently. So when I got that, I was like, crap, man! So now I'm putting that together.
Ninja Turtles references and stuff.
Man,
and Daredevil had some Ninja Turtle stuff going on.
If there was, I didn't know it.
Maybe it was the other way around. Ninja Turtles was based off of Daredevil. That's a whole nother podcast.
Whoa,
we can talk about
mind blown.
Time out.
No,
what?
we can't. No, different podcasts. They got to come back for that podcast.
We'll feed you
and
later,
we'll lodge in there when we do that podcast. We'll also lodge in the theory that I just made this up at work yesterday. I worked a 12-hour shift yesterday. When this happens, you get very
you make stuff
away.
up.
Your brain ponders.
We will lodge in with that podcast the theory that each Ninja Turtle's on a different drug. Because I think it's pretty clear Michelangelo smokes a lot lot of weed.
Donatello's on PCP, that much is clear.
And then, Raphael is a raging alcoholic.
No, I don't think Raphael would be on PCP.
Is he?
He's on
sorry,
I meant Raphael. I lost nerd cred there.
Yeah.
Right. And Leonardo's on, Adderall. That's why he's
Donatello
could be.
Come on, give it away. Different podcast.
Yeah, no, you guys are going to have to sign in next week.
So, the point of this, we really got to annotate this podcast with the tangents. So, the point that I was making, though, was Butch Coolidge throws a fight. That's, trope worn out since Daredevil. Probably before Daredevil, to be
Older
honest.
than feudalism.
Older than feudalism. So Tarantino, once again subverting me with the fact that it was meant to be cliched and meant to be pointless. So, Butch Coolidge wins the fight, ditching town now.
Yeah.
Needs his watch. Why does he didn't bring his watch?
Well, his girlfriend didn't bring his watch. He had told her the only important thing to him was the watch.
Right.
But, Butch does have a bit of an anger problem, but he's trying not to.
That's a good thing he's a boxer.
Yeah, right.
Try not to,
So
stress out his
girlfriend. When you're a boxer, it makes it just that much easier to beat your girlfriend. No, I'm just kidding. I'm totally kidding.
No,
I don't know. Floyd Mayweather didn't help that that stereotype
in
at all.
Butch Coolidge's defense, never lays a hand on his girlfriend. He does destroy the motel room out of anger.
Right.
He throws a TV across the room.
But better yet is his rant when he's driving. So he's in a motel room.
Yeah.
She went from home to the motel room, and he's like, grab the watch. Yeah. On the phone. Naturally, she forgets the watch. She brings 100 other great things that I'm sure he could use. But
she brings oversized T-shirts for her to wear.
Right.
Plenty of those.
Because, you're not going to be...
Suede jackets.
You can't be cute and endearing after a night of frivolous fun without, your boyfriend's T-shirt that's a onesie. That's essential.
Frivolous fun T-shirts on the store.
Oh my gosh, yeah. One size fits all.
Yeah, I'm here to say no.
That's down the road a ways. So, yeah, we get a great rant, though, because he's like, you know what, it makes no sense logically to go back to my apartment.
So, yeah, this 5-minute scene starts with the rant that Butch kind of lays out while he's sitting in the car alone, driving to the house, just slamming his hand on the steering wheel and
I told her one thing. Bring my grandfather's watch.
Is that where that started?
What started?
The scene starts.
You had one job.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were about to say yelling when no one's around, because I'm pretty sure. Granted, that movie is not older than me, but I mean, when I was 2, I was probably yelling. But with everyone around.
I think the first caveman to figure out he could make loud noises.
But I think everyone's had that moment, especially in the car, where you are just pissed. Not even at the driving, and that's when road rage kicks in, because you're like, you cut me off! And then you're not pissed at that.
Yeah.
You're pissed because whatever reason, but I always abuse that. When nobody's around, I'm screaming. When I'm doing homework, I want, I am so happy to be doing math homework on a Friday afternoon! Just yelling.
I may or may not have, there may or may not be a video of me losing my cool on it, because a person clearly was taping me while I watched it, so...
That's somewhere on the internet.
Hashtag FF. The original FF.
Yeah, none of these Final Fantasy.
They
don't know what they're talking about. We're the original
Final
FF.
Fantasy?
Hashtag
Lawsuit
FF.
coming soon. Alright, you took the FF
you
from
guys
us?
get your lawyers ready.
Get ready, boy, because we got some convincing arguments. Evidence notwithstanding.
Judge just looks at us like, well, you convinced me on the podcast stuff, but you still very obviously committed.
All we do, Mike, we walk in with two. We each have a boombox, but we only use one of them because I don't know. But we each walk in with a boombox. We slam it down. We say, "Exhibit A." Push play. It's just our podcast. That's all it is. After 2 hours of talking about Tarantino, he's like, innocent. Or guilty, I don't know which way. Are we the prosecutors? I don't even know at this point.
Square Enix is sitting there like, that had nothing to do with the case. That's not even what we're here for.
Hey bro, they're talking about Darth Vader invading other movies. That's illogical.
Darth Vader needs to be in Nutty Professor right now.
Oh, God.
Darth Vader was he was every character was played by Darth Vader. What is that?
Everyone needs to be Darth Vader. They'd be sitting around their IV drips, IV drip dinner table, having a nice meal.
They're at Thanksgiving dinner and they're all just getting their fluids through a machine.
Whatever their own personal Darth Vader pods that they all had, just like a huge dinner table.
Darth Vader's just like, Jeanette Vader, I heard you were dating a rebel again. Jeanette's like, screw you, Dad! Starts force choking.
Shut up, Vader, you're not my real dad.
I'm adopted! I know it!
There would be so many of those good I'm your father.
It's like
so many of those.
That's doubtful, you inherited the birth defect.
He looks at Billy Vader. Son, I told you, you can't be cutting off Tauntaun's heads with your lightsaber again.
They're all born in their black
I'm not listening to you, Daddy. I am your father. Well, I'm your father. How are we all each other's fathers?
Here's some relation. We're all born in these black Darth Vader suits. It's getting a little weird at this point.
Here at Frivolous Fandom, we keep thinking of ways to confuse and utterly confuddle.
Cow, that stands to this juncture as our craziest tangent ever. I look at Kiemo. I'm saying we have one uncommon denominator, and that is this man. So
yeah, I'm not going to get into
You can't see this, but I'm nodding my head vigorously.
So point at hand, Butch is driving in his car to go get the watch that he has to get because he's skipping town because he threw the fight, which is a stereotypical cliched scene.
Yeah, mob issues. He has a hard time. He's trying to open the door quietly.
Wait, we're not there yet. So he's still ranting in his car. Which is great, because Bruce Willis screaming is great, because his voice cracks in awkward ways.
Oh, yeah.
But you still respect him, because you know he can break your neck.
So much anger within this man. Yeah, we'll get into the Darth Vader starring in Mamma Mia, another podcast. Right now, we gotta get real.
Yeah, I remember that now. When me and Mike, and when we went to the lawyers and we pressed play, and that was in our podcast. Yeah. I'm just kidding. I wish it was in our podcast, because Eddie Murphy's... another Eddie Murphy reference. Eddie Murphy's Nutty Professor, played by Darth Vader, is brilliant, Kiemo. I will give you that. I wish I had thought of that.
That would make a good movie. That would make a good movie.
I'd pay money to see that. Personally,
I would pay money.
I don't even have any money, and I'd pay some money.
I would walk out of that movie 15 minutes in just to pay another $7 to go see the movie again from the beginning.
Oh, I'm sorry, Harkins, you must have undercharged me.
Clearly, this is a wonderful movie.
Yeah, let me pay what this movie is worth.
So he's ranting in the car. He pulls up, drives in. Walks up to his door, thinks to himself, you know what? They might think to look for me in my apartment.
Right.
Possibly.
Yeah.
I mean, who knows? Right. This is the mob.
So it's one of those things where the mob's like, we might as well check.
Just go.
Just go. He shouldn't be there because that's stupid, but we're stupid if we don't check.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you get that really long shot of Bruce Willis's character walking to his apartment from, he parks, 2 streets down or something.
Right.
Pure tension building.
Yeah, so much tension as you just follow Bruce Willis to his apartment,
right.
And then he gets to it, and you get one of those iconic Tarantino moments where he gets that extreme close-up on the key as he puts it into his lock and opens the door.
Which,
as slowly as he possibly could.
I would say, I've never had the moment where I'm putting the key in because I'm worried the mob's in my house, but I have had that moment where it's really dark.
Yeah.
And I imagine that's kind of, where your hand's shaking and you can't quite find the keyhole.
Yeah.
I mean, Bruce Willis was doing it in the movie in broad daylight, but that
Well, it's like sneaking,
That
it's like
feeling
you're
the
out too late.
mob?
You need to sneak in and not alert your parents.
Right.
Futile for me because my dog would have been like, Mike's home, Mike's home, Mike's home, Mike's
Oh,
home,
yeah.
squirrels.
No, we've all had that moment trying to go back to our parents' house late
Right,
at night.
right.
Everyone's asleep, trying to put that key in.
That's-
Because who knows? Maybe Vincent Vega's sitting on your
Because you
couch.
don't know when your parents could blow you away.
You just see Vincent Vega with a shotgun. Hey, so what time did your parents say for you to be home?
Yeah, Darth Vader
'Cause,
just told me that you're home late.
It's like
Your dog
kinda-
just shows up in a black suit. It's like,
It's like I distinctly remember your father telling me that you were to be home by midnight. It is clearly 2:53.
yo, dog. I don't want no trouble, man.
Yo, dog, I'm just your dog, but rules are rules. No? so
Believe
Bruce
it or
Willis-
not, this is a podcast about Tarantino.
Tarantino,
possibly.
but he makes a brilliant choice because so many times he uses the camera angle to portray the feeling that he wants you to have.
Yeah.
And so that's why he's super close-ups. Because in that moment, though, he's worried about the mob being inside his house. But in that moment, all he's worried about is that key. He's trying to be stealthy with that
so
key.
much focus because you are that character for that one scene, that drawn out scene, much like this podcast. Drawn out. And
Hey, it wouldn't be a
as he
Tarantino
pushes
cast unless
that
it's 3
key-
hours.
No, yeah. No, that's a requirement. He puts that key in that lock and opens it up as quietly as possible.
Right.
And you hear every click of those tumblers. And as he opens it up, he opens it up just quickly, just like, like a Band-Aid. He has to
Which,
tear it off.
by the way,
Opens
yes,
up,
opening creaky
runs it.
doors late at night is like a Band-Aid. Go quick. If
Yeah.
you
Just do
try-
it. It's like you're trying to.
You're like, nobody heard that.
It's like you're trying to
close it.
It's like you're trying to put down a
You're
wounded
like,
donkey.
mission accomplished. You turn on, hey mom, hey dad, you didn't hear a thing.
It's morning time. Your parents are up making coffee.
She's like throwing your scrambled eggs. She's like, do you want eggs? Because it seems like you're about to slip off the bed like we're not here.
A thing.
Yeah, that's one of those moments where like you're back from college.
And then you realize you've been like, doom, 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 doom.
Yeah, you've been
You're like,
making
was
the
that
sound
out
effects.
loud? Or was that in my head? at
Oh,
this
that's
point?
right. It's 8 a.m. This didn't matter.
Right. She's tossing eggs. Anyways, so the tension builds. You're focused on the key, opening the door.
Yeah. Super tense moment as he opens that door and comes inside, and he looks around. It looks like he's all right. It looks like there's no one around.
And then in a classic Tarantino move, we go
Yeah.
from dramatic,
Super tension.
just to, you know what? I got a rumbling in the tummies.
Yeah.
Only Pop-Tarts can
Yeah,
satisfy
he
me.
walks, grabs
Yeah.
his watch. A-okay.
Yeah, very similar
Right
to
where he
like
left it.
what you would expect out of maybe like a Disney movie's like overall arc, like a bunch of build up to like a plateau or like a bunch of like falling action, like, and you just do that back and forth because a lot of this is like super tense moment, walking to the apartment, just checking it out, putting the key in, it just builds up so much. You open the door and then nothing's here. Looks like we're okay. Everything kind of calms down. He grabs his watch.
Right.
He looks around in the kitchen. He's like, looks like we're okay. He grabs a Pop-Tart from the cupboard, puts it in the toaster, and he
Yeah, I'm
just
a little hungry. I'm gonna grab
I-
stuffed pastry right now.
I still assert that if the mob is after your butt, you don't sit there and make toast or strudel.
Dude, Mike,
thing
have
is-
you had a brown sugar cinnamon stuffed toast pastry?
Yes, and I prefer cherry.
Frosted?
this man is after
Okay,
my heart,
he
yeah.
said frosted. he lost me for a second. Like Tarantino, he lost me with the cherry. But like Tarantino, he brought me back with the frosting. And that's one of the greatest things I loved growing up was like Pop-Tarts were two equally delicious but separate snacks. If you just ate a Pop-Tart straight up, delicious. If you toasted it, it tasted it changed the entire complexion of the Pop-Tart and was delicious in an equal but just different way.
And you didn't
Yeah.
need water at the end of it. You needed to drink something when
You
you
needed
ate Pop-Tart
a-
dry.
Huge glass of chocolate milk, but that's besides the point. I was overweight as a child. I'm not gonna point to any singular reason, but I think the Pop-Tarts and chocolate milk might have had something to do with
If
it.
we had a pie chart for how much of your obesity was from what carb, it would probably like Pop-Tarts are a giant.
If we had a pie chart for what
By the way,
caused
I
me to
had
be
the
overweight as
best
a child,
childhood # mom dad ever. Thank you, mom and dad.
I would probably eat that pie chart.
But that's why, personally, that's when, I don't know if Tarantino had that in mind, like my childhood in mind, you know, considering he directed this before my childhood really happened. But he hit me close to home. I was like, yes, you grab this stuffed pastry snack.
See, if you're being chased by the mob,
I wouldn't have
if
toasted
you're
it, though.
hungry,
I wouldn't, like
yeah,
I said.
That's what I'm saying. If you're hungry and you're being chased by the mob, alright, Pop-Tart, that's not the worst thing you could
Absolutely.
eat. It's not like you're making, like, you know, a souffle. You know? Like, but did you
You're
need
not
a-
roasting a turducken.
Did you
Whatever.
need to toast that Pop-Tart?
Yeah.
Do you really think you have the time?
Oh,
to
Mr.
toast that
Assassin! I was
Pop-Tart?
just putting an endive salad with some parmesan on the table. Come
Follow
sit.
me. I just have to dice the herbs.
So if you're
Yes,
one of
the
those
head.
listeners that is listening to this podcast, has not seen the movies, and you're just, you know, curious about what my favorite scenes are, you know, Frivolous Fandom, just trying to, like, you know, get a little taste, you probably figured out by now that, yes, there is an assassin in this scene.
Oh, yeah.
We're about to get to it.
Right. Wouldn't that be ironic? We'd be like looking at you like, wait, so you like Pop-Tarts that much that
Yeah.
that equals your top 5?
No, my favorite scene was because there's a close-up on the
So yeah, no,
Pop-Tarts.
so that's what's so great about it. Clearly the Pop-Tarts were just to portray that everything's okay.
Or is it?
He made it. That, like, the tension built when he unlocked that door and we had super close up. Why would I super close up with the key unless that was where the tension was supposed to mount? We're good now.
Well,
He's
'cause
eating
all
Pop-Tarts.
Well, because Tarantino likes to build you up. I mean, he's teasing you. He's going, we got something. He's making
Right.
Pop-Tarts, and then he sucker punches you in the kidney while you're numb. You're like, wait a minute, I'm coughing up blood, but I don't feel any pain right now.
I'm just enjoying this. Because right when you think the tension has been popped like a
Pop-Tart, like a Pop-Tart.
popped like a tart, he looks to his left.
Yeah.
And deliberately, the camera, once again, so deliberately, the camera.
Yeah. Like, you know, like, once you hit the button on the toaster to start toasting your delicious pastry.
He even does the hand thing.
Yeah,
everyone
you
does.
always
I'm going to do
gotta
it in the
do it.
microphone real quick. That's what you do when you have crumbs on your hands. Sorry, just real quick preface.
Everyone knows that. Why don't you do it one more time? And everyone at home, just go ahead and do the same thing, just so you can kind of follow along.
Step-by-step process. Okay, you're going to take your left hand, you're going to draw it down, then you're going to repeat, but you're going to draw your right hand down.
This is our contribution to.
It's our
Western
contribution
culture.
to society.
Everyone knows what that is. So, you know, once you
That's a
hit
pure
the
sentence.
once you hit the button on your toaster and you're, you know, toasting your pastry, once you're getting ready, what do? You look for something to read. Everyone does it. Everyone does it.
You
gotta
got a
find,
good, like,
you
60
need
seconds.
something to
Well,
do.
see, this is my one part with the scene. When I walk into the house and open the door, or the apartment rather, and I look on the counter, I tend to notice a silenced submachine gun sitting on my counter.
Yes.
I would tend
Yep.
to notice that. I would
So,
think,
yeah,
gee, that's not mine. And the mafia's after me. You know what?
Yep. He
I
does
wonder.
He does the hand crumble shimmy, glances to his left, lo and behold.
Yeah. Silenced
Uzi.
Uzi sitting on the counter. Yeah.
And he's
I
like,
don't
wait,
think
did I
that's-
have that with me when I came in?
You know what? I think that's...
Is that Brittany's?
That's my
Did I leave that here?
No, man, that's my boxing equipment. I use
Yeah.
that in my boxing bag.
Is that my glove?
And then, so yes, Look sees
So-
the silenced Uzi, boom, that's when the tension all of a
Uzi
sudden.
is sitting on the counter, and right when he looks at it, before he probably even has time to, like, process
Fully
what's
register.
going on,
That's an Uzi.
you hear the flush of the toilet behind him.
Yeah.
The toilet flushes, I think he picks up the Uzi before, and then, like, he turns around, points the Uzi at the bathroom door, and this is the tensest moment. It just builds up to this, like, this is so much up and down. This is roller coaster, like, at its peak right now.
Right.
The bathroom door opens. Vincent Vega comes out, and he just looks Bruce Willis right in the eye. And this is just, like, such a great scene because these two characters had only met one time before.
So when you say Vincent, talk about JT?
Travolta.
That's right. yeah.
Johnny Travolta?
Johnny Travolta. John Travolta and Bruce Willis, both of their characters, Vince Vega, Butch Coolidge, they had only met one time before in this movie, and they did not hit it off. They were not great friends.
Not amicable.
Did not look like they were gonna go get a beer after that. They were not getting along too well.
Right.
Not to mention that you kind of have to reasonably assume I don't know you. I don't know how you got into my apartment, and there's an Uzi.
Yeah, no,
no clinks and drinks. And in other words, after their first encounter with one another.
This is a killer be killed situation that's going on right here, and what had happened before this was just a lot of standoffishness between the two, and in the end, it's assumed that Butch, or Bruce Willis' character, had keyed Vincent Vega's car, who had complained about it later on in the movie.
Right.
So this is just like little stuff that's just kind of building between these two guys, and it just explodes in this one scene where no words are said.
Right.
But Bruce Willis just points the Uzi
Quick preface: this you're about to. I guess I should wait to explain a little bit more, but this alludes to one of Tarantino's best tropes that he does, and that is that he never breaks the tension the way you expect him to.
Yeah.
So he points the Uzi.
Yeah. So you would expect some kind of like.
You think? I thought they were going to talk.
Yes.
Personally.
Yeah. Some kind of like kind of closing to this,
Right,
But
who needs closure?
But what really happens is this character that has been built up in your head so much,
especially because John Travolta is a chatty
oh,
patty.
Yeah. John Travolta talks about nothing this whole
Yes.
this whole movie. It's great. He talks about battle royales with cheese.
Oh no, he's doing okay. You gave away the punchline.
No, he talks about royales with cheese.
You have to hang on. We got to digress. You got to tell him your Hunger Games joke, Kiemo, because it was
Oh,
brilliant. I'm sorry.
Okay,
You just gave away the whole.
I already gave it away. It's not even.
You didn't hear anything.
You hear nothing.
You know what they call Hunger Games in Japan?
In France.
Well, in Japan they call it a battle royale with cheese.
Yes.
But
it's like McDonald's. It's bad and stupid, but it goes down so smooth.
There's a little bit of guilt at the end.
It doesn't come out smooth.
Yeah, it don't come out smooth. But still, that's one I'm keeping in the back pocket. I'm gonna wait till someone hasn't heard the podcast and be like, you know what they call Hunger Games in France? And it'll be like Battle Royale with cheese. That's right, I made it up. That could only come from one mind, and that's mine. No,
that's so original.
I recommend anybody steal that joke, though, that might hear this. It's a great joke.
Hey, I stole it.
Touché.
All gotta steal it from somewhere.
There are no new jokes, only new listeners.
That's right.
Touché.
So
yeah, they're standing off.
Yeah, pointing this Uzi at Vincent Vega, John Travolta, who had been talking this whole movie. He's always talking about something. Always talking about something stupid, something little. He is either talking about something stupid or in the bathroom pooping and reading this book that he's always carrying around. And
right, everything important that happens in this movie happens while he's pooping.
Yeah. John Travolta's character always is in the bathroom when the biggest things in this movie happens.
Right.
People are plotting to kill him. People are plotting to kill his partner. His boss's wife is overdosing. All this kind of stuff is all happening when he wants to read his book,
right?
Which is terrible. If you're ever into a really good book,
all the best reading happens on the toilet, in my experience. But whatever.
Yeah.
I respect
that's
that.
a whole nother podcast.
You're right. The podcast, the things I read while I was relieving myself. It's true, though. It's true.
So pointing the Uzi at Vincent Vega doesn't even have time to talk, because the next thing that happens in the scene is the Pop-Tarts pop out of the Pop-Tarts come out of the toaster. You get that extreme close-up on the Pop-Tarts.
Which, by the way, because he had to relieve this tension before you were expecting it, no Pop-Tarts toast that fast. But that's...
Yeah.
If I'm going to criticize him
that's
for
a whole other podcast.
That's a nitpick, I will admit. Next podcast.
I'm giving you the Loki Pokey look right now.
Right. Seriously, yeah. That's not where you can draw the line. That's a different
Yeah.
Proper.
Shout out to Kevin Smith for making that trope.
Proper Pop-Tart toasting is another podcast. But yes, I will not draw the line at the Loki Pokey Pop-Tart.
Yeah, so another expert use of that extreme close-up, I think that if you hear something pop and some like kind of big sound come out, then yeah, like
You have a reaction.
everyone's eyes are gonna quick like just draw to that, and that's when Bruce Willis does the deed. He shoots down Vincent Vega. John Travolta goes reeling backwards through the bathroom door and falls into the bathtub, dead. And
Spoiler alert.
yeah,
The dude is gone.
he kills
Spoiler
off.
alert, the main character.
He kills off who arguably the main character because he's been seen in like almost every
Pretty much
scene
every scene
before that.
leading up
Yeah.
to this, yeah.
Every scene leading up to it, so it is a great surprise to see this happen, and he still shows up after, which is really great. I love the like asynchronous kind of the format of the whole movie.
Right.
It makes it so like even these characters that you really care about, that you lose, that are so important, still get this kind of screen time, still get to be important to you and the movie.
Right.
Right, because it's kind of like, I mean, he allows you to really blend into the moment. You know, for those of us who are going to pay attention to the fact that, you know, this character's dead. Well, for those of us who are going to care about that, well, we know he dies later. So in a way, we don't have to worry about him surviving the encounter that happens in between. We only have to enjoy the experience in the meantime. So he really is about, you know what, I'm going to zoom in real close. Like you're the character. Like the viewer's the character. He is, I mean, a lot of directors like to throw this concept around and they don't actually do it. Michael Bay. Who, you know, they're like, I want to put you, I want you to see this fantastic thing from, you know, from where, I want it to look like it would look if you were looking at it.
Right.
Well, Tarantino's like, yeah, but we don't see giant robots floating everywhere. Like, what are we looking at if I'm trying to sneak into a house? Be it for a mob or, is it for my mom or for the mob? You know, oh, God, don't make a lot of noise. You know, and so I think that's like, and then of course in some of his other movies, and that's the thing, it's backdropped against these fantastic, outrageous, and completely random events of carnage, stupidity, and awesomeness.
Right. He makes you feel like you're a part of such ridiculous scenarios.
Yeah,
and that's the beauty of it.
Especially with Pulp Fiction, you really get that feeling of loss. Like you lose these characters that feel really important to you through the movie, and then you still get to see them as the movie continues, which just kind of like just makes that loss even more important to you, because then you see like, I already know I lost that character, but now I get to see more reasons why I wish I did.
Sad. Yeah.
Or I should be sad, exactly.
Right.
So the scene pretty much wraps up there. He kills Vincent, he checks, and you get to see a nice kind of extended shot of just Vincent sitting completely still in the bathtub, dead. Right. And then Bruce just wipes his fingerprints off the gun, leaves, and goes off to another really important scene that we won't get into.
That's not the top 5.
Yeah. So
so basically, to wrap it up, the scene epitomizes the tension that Tarantino builds, the camera work that he is sort of remembered for, the close-up that is unmistakably Tarantino.
Yeah. And
also, he's also the scene also depicts the way that he never relieves the tension the way you expect it to be relieved.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So, with that, we'd better move on to number 4. I promise, audience, from this point, we're gonna punch it, Chewy. We're gonna punch it. We're gonna punch it like Butch Coolidge punched that fighter that he was supposed to take the dive.
Oh yeah, yeah. This is gonna be high speed. This is gonna be high.
This is high stakes. This is like Aaron Paul and Need for Speed, March 23rd, 2014. See it in theaters.
Catch it.
Catch it. Yeah, if you can.
Now a word from our sponsors.
So, number 4,
which brings us to number 4, the introduction to Inglorious Basterds, also known as the Milkman Interrogation.
Oh yeah. Now what did they call this scene when we opened up Chapter 1? Once upon a time
in Nazi-occupied France.
That's right. Yeah.
In a galaxy far, far away. I'm sorry.
Now
that's not even the right heading at all. It was a long time ago, not once upon a time. But I digest.
This is one of the longer scenes on the list. They like the last two
or even that long
are pretty long scenes. But this one just kind of starts it off. This scene is like a 21 minute scene. that's just, you know, the introduction to Inglorious Basterds, the setup for our main villain, Hans Landa, the Nazi officer, the Jew hunter, I think his nickname was.
Yep.
Now, the setup for this is just him coming to this farm, interrogating this French farmer.
Yep.
Yeah. Now, the reason that I really like this scene, one, like a lot of the other ones, it does have a lot of tension in it. But like, it is a really good kind of not only set up for the main villain, but it's also a really good transition from the main villain being this kind of subdued character who is just kind of speaking with the guy and just kind of trying to get information from him,
Right.
and it sort of transforms from that into a full-blown interrogation.
Right.
And the way that he kind of turns this conversation around is really smart, because you realize by the end of the scene that the whole time this was his plan.
Right.
Yeah.
Honestly, this scene progresses with the fluidity that the Reservoir Dogs scene did, which I'm glad now, you know, I actually just thought of this, that you brought that Reservoir Dogs scene up, because it is that same sort of build where it's super convincing, and it's actually really, really sort of subtle in a way.
Yeah.
Because, so we'll get into the meat of it. Basically, the scene starts, Nazi-occupied Germany. You don't quite know yet why.
France.
Did I just say Germany? Why are the Nazis occupying Germany? Those jerks?
Technically,
France occupied Germany. The French are just ruining everyone's day. No. So, JK.
Nazi occupied
France occupied France. Germany occupied France. You don't quite know why yet that this regime of Nazis have come through to this lowly farm. Because I think the first scene is his wife or daughter, I'm not sure, hanging out laundry.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like straight out of A Sound of Music.
It's prairie home. It's Little House on the Prairie. Like,
yeah, pretty peaceful.
hanging up stuff on the
super
thing.
peaceful. All of a sudden, these Nazis roll in. They're not guns blazing or anything. They're not super intrusive, but again, you can already tell they're Nazis. So this ain't going well. So so they come into his house. Christoph Waltz, who plays what's the general?
Hans Landa.
Hans Landa.
The Austrian Johansson.
The Austrian Jew. You don't know that yet, actually. Come on, guys.
Yeah.
Spoilers.
Yeah, no, come on. We're spoiling movies.
We're just spoiling
an hour and a
names.
half into it, but you're gonna spoil movies 20 minutes in.
Right.
The reveals that happen, 5 minutes in.
This is, again, the Tarantino podcast, so we're just getting into this. So, so Hans Landa, he asks the Frenchman, could I be welcomed into your house? Real polite, and then the Frenchman, of course, says yes, because, well, come on, we know he has no choice.
It's obvious that you have to respect the German officer and, the demands that he puts on you, but he says it in such a way that it says, like, you're in control,
Right. Can I come in your house?
Yeah.
Sir, please.
They have some of your delicious milk.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, one thing that he did is that he offered him, what did he offer him? Wine? He offered him wine at the beginning, and he put his hand on, his wife or his daughter, I can't remember what, her wrist, and was like, I understand this is a milk farm. Can I have some of your milk? He changes the order immediately, and he says, like, I'm in control. I control what I drink. This is what I want. This is one of the very early kind of.
Well, I feel like it also
twists.
says that I mean business. Like, I'm not here to drink.
Yeah, this is a turn of the tables right at the beginning. Don't try and soften me up.
Right.
Exactly. Like one of the early things that shows who's actually in control. When the whole time he is trying to allude that, the French, the farmer is the one that kind of has control of the situation, he's always continuously turning that around on him.
Right.
So, like, right after that, he gets into...
So then, I was going to say, is at this point he begins the quote-unquote interrogation that we don't realize quite yet.
Yeah, he pulls out from his very magical coat, you know, a
Right.
full list of papers, a pen.
Straight out of A
an
Sound of
ink.
Music, more like straight out of a different Julie Andrews movie. And I'm referring to the repurposed Mary Poppins purse, which is now a Nazi general's jacket. Because
Now
he
a
pulls...
Nazi general's jacket.
We're expecting
Now
half
in
of the-
theaters, Mary Poppins purse as the German general's jacket.
We're half expecting the Luftwaffe, the German Air Force, to come
I
flying.
mean,
out
he's
of
got a
his coat.
spoonful of sugar laying somewhere down around in that jacket. Like, let's be
And
honest.
that's the worst person on earth to get those magical powers. Let's be honest.
Right. The things that man could do with the things that he could carry in that jacket.
It's like just a spoonful of ammo helps the Allies go down.
Down in the most delightful way. Why do they always do that wavering thing?
I don't. It's supposed to be vibrato.
No,
Sorry,
that's a movie I would watch.
Direct-
This whole
Every time,
Inglorious Basterds thing.
every time Kevin does that, a baby seal dies.
direct melodic quote. That was note for note what Mary Poppins, aka Hans Landa, no, I'm just kidding, saying. So
so
he
he
just starts
turns
whipping
around.
stuff out of the coat. Yeah, he whips out
A fully packed giant Austrian.
Not yet.
pipe.
Whoa, way ahead of it. Way ahead of yourself. He whips out
Don't
a
forget it.
dictionary worth of Jew names.
Yeah, he goes through the list. He's like,
Well, he didn't pull that out of his jacket. He
these
had a
are the Jewish
briefcase.
families.
Oh, did he have a briefcase?
Yeah,
What a
walked through the
cheater.
briefcase.
Why would you?
Yeah.
That's just see. That's when you're in control. When
Yeah,
you have,
when you have to do the paperwork, you have to have the briefcase.
when you has a magic jacket, you do not need a briefcase. That was a spot on German accent. Was what that was.
I
oh,
thought
yeah.
that I was
Oh, yeah.
in Germany for a second.
Welcome to Jamaica, man. No, so he has a magic jacket. You are correct. He does pull that. Apparently, that is too big.
The pen and the paper and, you know.
Right.
It's the things you put in the briefcase. Everything's in the briefcase.
I could have either or, pen or paper, not both in this jacket. So he pulls both, though, out of the briefcase. He goes, you know, what was the family's name? It doesn't matter.
LaPedite.
LaPedite? Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
so he starts asking him, he's like, you know, have you heard of the LaPedite family?
No,
And-
that's
No.
That's the family.
The LaPedite
that-
family is the farmers.
Oh.
The Dreyfuses.
The Dreyfus. The Dreyfuses.
Which, ironically, that movie showed me how to pronounce my street name.
Dreyfus. Dreyfus. We won't even think about who named that then. Nazis in Arizona. I hope
Well,
not.
no, that's the French who named. Okay.
Yeah, I think
Getting all my
there's-
cultures
there's
mixed
a
up.
Jewish family.
Few times an American would rather a Frenchman name something when the Nazis are involved. Let's be honest.
Right. I mean, just like your fat Buddha, when have Americans ever messed up other people's cultures? As I am now, brutally massacring it. I'm sorry.
I can't rebuke you for that one because I don't know who started the chubby Buddha.
Yeah, I
thing.
don't know, but apparently he was skinny. But the point that is alluding to is he pulls out his notebook full of Jew names.
Yeah. Goes
Says-
through it, and it's obviously making the Monsieur LaPetite very, very uncomfortable. We like to call him
Because this
Joel,
just got a
but-
little bit more serious.
Yeah.
now. This is
Yeah.
business now.
Yeah, no, this is getting real. So
Yeah, Joel from Walking Dead.
Last
Joel
of Us.
from The Last of Us.
Which
Yeah.
explains why Joel's such a
Looks
hard
exactly
ass.
like him.
He's just descended from brave stock.
Right.
exactly.
I mean, a hardy chopping woodman.
I mean, you had to worry about the Nazi soldiers having their way with your women and your goods, regardless, let alone if you were hiding Jews.
Right. I mean, screw zombies. You've dealt with Nazis. I mean,
Yeah.
once the Nazi zombies hit, it's cake.
Yeah.
So
I know how to
Joel
deal with
from The
both of
Last
these.
of
Now
Us.
I don't even feel bad. Bang, bang.
Joel from The Last of Us, yeah, he starts getting more comfortable because all of a sudden this went from can I have a glass of milk? This just became business.
Yeah, it became business. So he tries to get a little bit more comfortable. He asks, "Is it alright if I pull out my pipe?"
In my own house.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
okay, yeah.
And like he's like, "Of course, you're in control." Like Hans Landa is trying to kind of make him comfortable.
Right.
So he said, "Of course, this is your house. Pull out your pipe. Smoke. Go ahead.
Right.
Smoke them if you got them."
Right.
So he pulls it out. Tarantino always wants to do that with these really tense scenes. He gets that extreme close up on the pipe as as Monsieur LaPetite goes ahead and smokes that, and that just kind of goes to show that like his eyes are downcast. He does not want to look at Hans.
Landa.
Yeah, he does not want to look at him, so he's looking down at his pipe as he lights it. He's trying to keep his focus away from that because there's guilt in this character.
Right, because he knows if he looks Hans Landa in the eye, that he's going to give up something.
Yeah.
So instead, he's just focused on his pipe.
Yeah, exactly. So
yeah, that's actually, I hadn't thought about that, but that's true. That is why they... See, my mistake. I thought they just zoomed up on the pipe because... to show him rip it in one hit, because you can't not look like a badass.
Yeah, you also look like a total pimp.
Yeah, right. Right. So
that's a whole other podcast.
You know, your reason... Yeah, a whole other podcast. But you're right. I think you're a little bit more knowledgeable than me here, because definitely, yeah, that's what he's looking at. He's trying to avoid eye contact at this point.
Yeah, exactly.
Because Hans Landa is gradually establishing himself as in control. He starts out, may I enter your house? May I have a glass of milk? You know. Now,
yeah, and like it's slowly, he like turns down the wine and changes it to milk. Like it's slowly, like he's always giving the respect to the owner of the house, but slowly kind of putting his own influence into everything.
I mean, I hate to use the word because it's in the title, but he is the magnificent bastard. Trope, because he's be polite. Be professional, and plan to kill everyone you meet. It's that, and my Marine buddies are gonna kick my butt for not knowing which soldier said that, but it really is. He's just like, you know what, I'm not a nice person, but that doesn't mean I have to be a not nice person. You know,
he's very polite while he ruins your life.
So he's OCD, I think, if we're gonna be honest. He's like, okay, well, if it's worth doing, then it's worth doing right, even if this is homicidal genocide. This must be done with
Everyone has been so clumsy with their homicidal genocide.
You see, but with new management, there has to be paperwork, transfer. We have to keep a tight ship here.
Well, yeah, because, so basically he asks about the Dreyfus. And, Joel, or the French farmer, says, they already came through here asking about them. And, it's already been cleared. We don't know where they are.
We heard they went to Spain, is what he said.
Yeah, we heard
these
left.
are just rumors, but,
I love rumors.
I love rumors.
Which is great because, that's implying that, he says facts often can be misleading, but rumors always tell you something. And that means he knows that the Dreyfuses are at his house. And it's later revealed that, that is the truth. So and he knows that they're
I think
there.
Spain would have been a big flag right there because, and I need to double check this, Franco was not sympathetic to the Jewish plight. He didn't, have anything against them, but he wasn't willing to piss off Hitler by harboring refugees.
That's some nice
I think
historical
you're right,
stuff there, Mike.
So, I mean, you can see,
I appreciate that.
He's not willing to get involved in the war, but that means he's not willing to get involved in the war. So
this is why we bring Mike along, because I don't know whether Dreyfus is Jewish, French, or German, and Mike actually knows the Spanish leader's name.
We need someone here to, call us on our, me and Kevin's, complete inaccuracies.
I'm a business student. They don't teach us anything that matters.
I mean, I don't know, pre-med, my science, my science professor's like, I don't know where he got this.
But that means you know how to read a lot. Business students aren't too good at reading.
Students of design just know how to pour coffee.
Right. We just know how to pour coffee and complain. That's all we do.
I'm not touching that.
So,
but he, Hans
so how much later is
knows.
this? I'm trying to think of the timing, because, most Tarantino scenes starts real lax, he's drinking the milk, all of a sudden he pulls out the binder, gets a little bit more tense, and then he's asking about the Dreyfus, and then it gets a little bit more tense, and you're starting to feel this, and he asks, in his own house, can I smoke the pipe?
Yeah.
Hans Landa, yes, of course, your house, this is your house. He smokes the pipe, but then that's the first close-up, I think, of the scene, is the pipe, and all of a sudden you realize... Holy cow, he's afraid to meet his gaze. Something is wrong here.
Yeah, something is wrong. But, they don't want to allude to it just yet.
I think while he's smoking it is when he asks about the Dreyfus, and that's when he goes, I've just heard rumors. And then he goes, okay, yes, Joel says, but they've already asked us about this. This has been cleared.
Well,
and then he goes, yeah, you know how it is. He's like, I'm new here.
Yeah.
When you get new management,
Yeah.
sometimes you...
Always putting him at ease.
Always put him at ease. When you get new management, sometimes you are a little redundant.
Let's say, well, and then he flips it around and goes, oh, but you see, I'm not even a German.
Yeah.
So you know why they called me here, right?
Yes.
Good
segue.
I can sink like a Jew. Is a direct quote. He's like, the Germans probably tore through here, and we're, the predatory German people, which I'm going to back off and say I don't necessarily subscribe to these characterizations. This is for drama. It's like, but they have the predatory instincts of a hawk. They look in the raptors. They look in the shed, the barn, the trees.
Look where a German would look.
Yeah, it's like, I can sink like a Jew.
Yeah.
He says, and you know what they call me. And then, of course, at this point, I think when he asks, do you know what they call me, is when the audience and everyone knows who's in control.
Because,
it's kind of like when Walt in Breaking Bad goes, say my name.
Yeah.
He's
always dropping hints, but at this point, he's like,
damn right.
I'm asking something of you, and I'm not going to, get off of this topic until you tell me.
Right, because Joel goes, I know what they call you.
Yeah.
Oh, well, what do they call me? He's like, I don't much care to say what they call you. He's like, what do they call me?
Yeah.
And so finally it's like, they call you the Jew hunter.
Yeah. All right. They call you the Jew hunter. All right. Yeah.
He's like, and that is because I can think like a Jew.
And he really does kind of say, it's a good introduction as a character for the overarching story, because it reveals that, you know what? It's probably very fair to assume at this point he's not racist.
Yeah.
He's not that ignorant.
Yeah, he's just doing his
He's
job.
an opportunist.
Right.
He's like, I see the Germans agree with me in characterizing the Jews as rats, but I don't see that as a... he's saying, I'm objectively looking at... I'm not just going to... And then he corrects LaPedite about his assumptions about rats. He goes, no, they spread the plague, rats, but
oh, that's true,
any disease
he goes,
a rat can spread.
So basically he says, the Germans, if they were to be related to an animal in their instincts, they're like a hawk. They're predatory. If Jews were to be related to an animal, they're like rats. They hide, they're weak. Yeah. And then he goes, and this is why, the Jews hunt the rats. He's like, LaPedite, if a rat came into your house right now, would you treat it with the same, with the same hospitality you're giving me, or would you be hostile? And then, of course, like anybody, LaPedite's like, I don't know, I guess I'd kill it.
Yeah.
And then he goes, well, why would you kill it? And LaPedite's like, well, rats, they spread disease.
They bite people.
They bite people. They spread disease. I don't know. And then you're right. LaPedite goes, no, that was the bubonic plague, but rats do not any longer carry disease. It's interesting.
Any disease a rat
It's
can
like
carry.
you said, he's not even blindly racist. He's any disease a rat could carry.
I don't have any personal vendetta against the Jewish population,
he even
but this is my job.
Right.
He even says, you know what? The Germans think it's an insult. I do not. Could you survive as a rat? That's kind of impressive, really. And so it's like so I think by doing that, it's for the short term, it's psychological warfare against LaPedite. Because LaPedite goes, shit. I'm not dealing with a barbarian from Germany right now. I'm dealing with somebody who is very pragmatic and doesn't care.
Right. That's an interesting thought here. I think that monologue more than anything is where LaPedite. So at what point does the scene change in the way I'm referring to? I'm trying to think where in the dialogue
where you realize that this is something where the French farmer is guilty.
This is a Mexican standoff without being declared as such.
Yeah, yeah. There's a great Mexican standoff scene in this movie, but this one is kind of its own. But I can't remember exactly where it is. But
it's around when he's talking about there being rats.
When he's naming off the ages of the characters of the characters of this family, the members of the family. Yeah. It pans down and you see. Okay,
so this is before the rats. So he goes. Yeah, he says, you know how it is with new management. Sometimes you have a little redundancies. I'm good at my job though. I'm just making sure.
Yeah.
Could you please relate to me the name and the age of the family, just for our documents?
Yeah.
And so, as Joel, a.k.a. LaPedite, I don't know, I should say LaPedite, a.k.a. Joel, because his name is actually LaPedite.
Yeah.
He starts saying, the father, the mother. He basically tells them the whole family, because he knows them. and roughly their age. He's trying to act like he doesn't quite know. He knows way
Yeah.
too well, though. And so while he's relaying to him this information, just to try to get this over with, the camera angle starts at the table where they're discussing it, and it slowly pans down.
Yeah, pans down.
And as it's panning, the whole time, you know what it's going to pan to, but you're kind of hoping it's something else,
Yeah,
you know?
it pans so slowly at some point that you don't really see it coming, and then once it gets to like their feet, you're like, okay, this is going under the floorboards, and you see the family kind of sitting under the floorboards, and then the whole scene just jumps in intensity to like a whole nother level.
So
and this is when it kind of becomes like, all right, now this guy is trying to protect this whole family, and like it is really tense at this point.
See, and that's where, interestingly to me, because you know, Mike, I like talking about like, why do we root for who we root for? You know, why are we so pro Han Solo and Luke Skywalker?
Yeah.
That tauntaun didn't deserve to be cut open. That's messed up. So this whole scene, you've been on LaPedite's side, because he's just a farmer, you know,
he's
with
the
a family.
Nazi.
He's not a Nazi, exactly.
Yeah.
You're like, I don't know what this Nazi's even up to right now.
Standard
but it's not
operating
good.
procedures for a good person.
Yeah.
Against the Nazis.
So
Yeah,
checklist,
exactly.
if you should root for them or not. Are they Nazi? No. Okay, I'm rooting for them.
Yeah.
But that's the point where you, like, all of a sudden become emotionally attached to LaPedite.
Yeah.
At least for me. I was like, you know, I kind of liked him, but at that point I was like, oh shit, this guy's like a great guy to be harboring his family.
Yeah. And like the whole
Because Nazis are not forgiving
interrogation-
people.
The interrogation switch gets turned on at this point.
All of a sudden you're like,
And
crap,
then-
it is an interrogation.
Yeah, and then he says something along the
It
lines
isn't
of
an
like,
honest mistake.
you know, like, if you want us to close the book against your family, we just need to kind of do a once-over on this whole place. And if we don't find anything out of place, and rest assured we will, then, like, once
kind
he
of
says-
like, I know they're here, wink. Wink. Because
Yeah.
again, he's a practical man. He's gonna get his job done, and he has nothing against LaPedite. Like,
Yeah.
he doesn't, or the Jews. He doesn't want to hurt anybody.
And he says that, you know, he says, like, you know, I'm a businessman, I'm trying to do this, you know, by the book. If you help me do my job, you're only going to be met with, you know, positive.
It will not be
feedback.
forgotten that you
You know,
want to do.
you know,
Which in Nazi occupied France was a serious threat.
Because any other inspector would have not
Oh, they
have
would've
not made
cared.
that deal.
They'd have been like, you know what, whatever, we're going to tear this place apart. If we find the Jews, your daughters.
Let's be honest. Any
Yeah.
other inspector that already had their hunch and knew that the Jewish family there would relish exposing them and then
Yeah.
being able to punish the French family.
Oh yeah, well, because they loved everybody, granted, the Vichy French were cowards and blah, 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 blah. The Vichy French being the ones who supported the Nazi regime as kind of like turncoats.
yeah.
But you have to remember, the Nazis tore things apart. You know, you were always worried as a father to a daughter, regardless of Jews in your cellar or floorboards,
Yeah.
if a random Wehrmacht soldier decided, I want your daughter tonight.
Yeah.
What are you going to do about it?
Right.
You got nothing.
I mean, you could say something, but you're probably dead. So
Yeah.
And your daughter's gonna be dead when they're through.
So yeah, there's a lot of fear from this man, just from him, like, you know, showing up
And-
at your place, and it's apparent from the very beginning that these guys are dangerous. You know,
And it's apparent that this is no ordinary Nazi.
This is not. These are, and this is not the Wehrmacht. This is not the normal Nazi. This is not your garden variety Nazi. He is a commander in the SS.
Yeah.
This is Hitler's personal police force, bodyguards, and spec ops guys. These are the nastiest of the worst. They're scary. They really are.
Right.
You know. So I mean,
So-
if an SS commander says you leave this family alone,
Right. Oh, dude, we forgot actually a huge part of the scene.
what's that?
Crap. Okay, so to play along with the fact that Joel's confidence and sense to do good is wavering. So early on in the scene, Hans Landa comes in and he speaks because he's accommodating. He's letting the Frenchman feel like he's control. Monsieur Français is speaking French. You know, merci beaucoup.
Yeah, speaking French the whole
Speaking
time.
French
With a very
with perfect
with perfect diction.
French. Yeah, and then he says, you know, like very early on, he says, "Oh, I've exhausted all of my French. do you think we could speak the rest of it in English? I hear you're good at English. And they switched the language over.
Yeah.
And as per the Nazis' request. And, I mean, he had perfect French up till then. There was no way he
I wonder if-
Doesn't he say something like, I've almost exhausted my French?
Yeah.
I wonder if LaPedite's like, ooh, bullshit.
Yeah,
Again,
there's no questioning it.
Honestly, that plays into what you're talking about. That's also another part along with the milk instead of the wine that lets you know the Frenchman's in control. Because if the Frenchman felt like he was in control, he'd be like, no, this is my house. We're in France.
Yeah.
You're speaking fine French.
It's time to speak French.
You're speaking French. But the fact that LaPedite goes along and says, okay, lets you know who's truly in control. So you think nothing much of it other than maybe Tarantino's throwing me a bone. Maybe he understands I don't want to read anymore.
I seem to be the only person who doesn't mind
movie
subtitles.
magic.
So the true reason, though, it turns out, was that, of course, Hans Landa, being the brilliant person that he is, didn't want the Jews that he knew were somewhere in the house to hear their conversation and start getting spooked.
Well, and
so he knew the whole time. Like
Yes.
that doesn't really get revealed at the end.
You're
but
right.
Like,
it doesn't hit you.
You get suspicious.
Yeah, it
right
doesn't
from
hit
there.
you until you see the Jews. Then you understand. Oh my gosh, he knew, and he's talking in English, so they don't understand, and they're not going to make any sudden moves. They're going to hope for the best that Joel can handle the situation.
Well, it's pretty similar to how you don't if you're stalking an animal, and you have an opportunity to get it, but you know for a fact a better opportunity will present itself later.
Wait.
It behooves you to just stick it out and wait a little bit.
Right.
And so, I'm sure, and granted, I'm reading into a scene, but Landa is probably sitting there thinking, okay, could we just go in guns hot and blow this place to smithereens? Yes. Would we get our
Might
job
miss
done?
something.
Yes. But he's like, A, I would not be thorough, and B, yeah, anytime we can actually kind of look generous to the native population,
Right.
that's a good thing, because then everyone goes, hey, LaPedite, why'd you turn over the Jews? He's like, well, we haven't been bugged yet.
Right. So, essentially, this scene gets to the point where Hans Landa is still cryptically, but at this point the audience knows, putting it out there. I know they're here. They are rats. They're underneath your floors.
Yeah.
I will find them, and I will punish you, or you help me do my job, because that's all I care about, is being good at my job. And I cut you some slack, and I will not forget the fact that you complied.
Yeah, and extremely emotional for the French farmer.
And this is when it hurts now, because
the
now all of a sudden...
the waterworks are coming out.
Because now you are emotionally invested with LaPedite, because you now are pulling for him because he is doing the honorable thing and trying to protect his family.
Yeah, you like to empathize with the heroic character.
Right, so you are now empathizing with LaPedite, and you watch him... This is the close-up of LaPetite's face at this point.
Yeah.
And you see the whole thought process where he is... You can tell he's thinking in his mind, I'm a coward, but this man knows. There's nothing I can do about this, and at some point I have to draw the line for my family, because they will not be kind to my family, like Mike was describing earlier.
You can, I mean, even from a moralistic perspective, you could argue that there is no choice. There isn't one.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, no, because at this point, you're not going to be able to protect them. At this point, all you can do is protect your family. And to be honest, he didn't have to take that French family.
He extended their lives.
The Jewish family. Yeah. He did not have to take the Jewish family.
What's that? He extended the lives of his countrymen longer than they would have been otherwise.
And anyone else besides Hans Landa, he'd have been fine. So, at this point is when you get that close-up of his face. And you just see the range of motion as he is finally defeated, and the tear runs down his face, and he thinks, it's done. I am a coward in a way. I mean, he's not a coward, but...
That's what he's thinking.
Right, but that's what he's thinking, because he wanted to protect his family, and he's so ashamed, and he finally says, he nods his head, yes. And then Hans Landa says, point them out, and he points...
With the pipe of power, apparently.
The pipe of power until we did Mike, tell me your favorite point about Mary Poppins' magical jacket.
Hans Landa manages to pull out not only a pipe, but a giant Austrian mega pipe fully stocked with Austrian tobacco. He didn't pull out a container and stuff the snuff and light it. No. It was already pre-packed. Like, he knew this was going to happen somehow.
Right, yeah.
So
the fact that the pocket that he had that in is big enough that it won't move and won't miss his pack, that's impressive. So that was the last straw.
Come prepared, man. He's like an Austrian Boy Scout.
Right, why not pack your pipe before you put it in your pocket?
Yeah.
Pack pipe in a packet.
Pack the pipe in a
You gotta puff the pipe that was packed in your packet.
It's positively ponderous why you wouldn't pack your pipe.
Right, so that was like the last
So,
straw. He goes,
yeah.
you smoked, let me...
Extreme interrogation tactic. This is advanced interrogation at this point. This is like some implications that are just going deeper and deeper into some like psychological stuff, where he's pulling out a pipe that is easily twice as big.
Easily.
Like, and he's just, smoking it in this guy's house. It's just like some, is this guy overcompensating for something?
Right.
Or what? But like, that this guy is just more important than, this French farmer. Just like, he's just laying it on really, really thinly, It's like, or, in some way kind of really heavily.
Right.
It's like, in these like, but really, really vague ways, at the same time. And all these kind of little things are just like kind of showing his dominance.
Right.
And
Till he finally powerfully puffs on his packed pocket pipe.
and
Powerful puff.
and this is powerful strong. This is,
Right.
So yeah, he
This tobacco gives you hair on your chest.
Right. So that was kind of the last straw, where he's now smoking in LaPedite's house, and then that leads to the scene we were describing, where finally LaPedite is broken. He has to give up the Jewish family.
There's no other option.
Yeah, there's no other option, and it's hard to watch, but the music swells, and that's when the Nazis, I should say, come in, just start shooting up the floorboards, because screw Hans Landa's delicate surgeon's touch.
Yeah, he figures out where they are under the floorboards. He knew, it's assumed that he knew that they were there. He just wanted to know where they were under the floorboards. Right. Everything was already in Hans's control, and he's just kind of laying on those last kind of finishing touches. So he figures out where they are. He brings in his soldiers under the guise that they are the ladies of the house.
Right.
And he's just trying to make sure that
because now he's in French. The ladies, come back. We're all clear.
Switches back to French, and it brings them
so
back.
The Jewish people are like, okay, they did it. We're
almost okay. We'll just continue to stay exactly where we are, exactly what he wants. Brings them in, and the soldiers shoot out the floors and kill out most of the Jewish family.
Right.
One character, Shoshana, escapes.
Unfortunately, no, I'm just kidding. Unfortunately, sorry, no, I'm kidding.
She grows to be one of the main characters of the movie. Really great setup for that character. You really get to feel exactly kind of the level of fear that she has during the rest of the movie. It never has to be kind of explained in any other context. Right. You know exactly why she's kind of afraid of these characters, including her kind of close face-to-face moments with Hans later on. You know exactly why she's so silent and so choked up every time she has to talk with him. Because of this one scene.
Right.
So it's really good setup, not only for Hans as the villain, but for Shoshana as kind of the protagonist. Really good all around for just kind of setting up this whole, or the whole theme of this movie. So I mean, it has nothing to do with the Inglorious Basterds,
right.
but it has everything to do with what leads the Basterds to ultimately kind of finishing their goal and also...
And it sets up Hans Landa.
It absolutely sets up Hans Landa. I think
all
that's kind of
aspects
the
of
most
him.
important part, because really, if Shoshana did not exist, there might have been more Bastards that lived at the end. I don't know. Maybe that would have happened. We'd have to go through it a little bit more finally. But Hans Landa is absolutely set up in this scene. It's a great way to kind of show your main character and make him just a total evil, devious, powerful antagonist.
Powerfully practical
with his packed pipe.
antagonist, not protagonist.
Or did I say protagonist?
I don't know. I was rolling with the alliteration,
Okay.
and I wanted to say protagonist so much, but
Well,
an awfully antiquated antagonist. No, I don't know.
yeah, you won't be
what does
able
antiquated
to use that alliteration in the next one either, because this next one is also a setup for a powerful antagonist.
mean?
Number 3.
So, Mike, dramatic voice. Number 3.
Number
We're finally
3.
moving on.
Jackie Brown. Ordell asks a favor.
That's right, yeah. So
Who is Ordell, Kiemo? And so Jackie Brown, this is one of Tarantino's a little bit older movies. This was the movie he made following Pulp Fiction.
I believe it was following Reservoir Dogs before Pulp Fiction. I could be wrong.
Check out this Wikipedia.
Oh, quick, speaking of which,
Speaking of Wikipedia, Mike.
before we go any further, I have to correct my previous statement that Franco did, in fact, help a lot of Jews escape Nazi Germany, as he himself was part Jewish. So I stand corrected. And I'm glad I got an inkling to go double-check my claims.
So, Mike, what exactly, just to fix the claim, because I actually care.
So
I am interested, though.
Franco did help Jews.
He did help Jews.
Yeah, because he was part Jewish himself.
So Tarantino, not always accurate with his history, but in this one case, they would have fled to Spain because, in fact, Franco. So, Mike, thank you for double checking that. I know not everyone cares, but I don't care enough to actually research it myself, but knowing that is fun. So,
If there's one thing we're going to strive for in this podcast, it's just not being uninformative.
right, we will inform the craps out of you. So,
We will not intentionally
We will
be
not
full of crap.
uninform
We
you.
will only
That's-
unintentionally.
we will only accidentally be Mr. Brown. We won't intentionally be Mr. Brown. So, speaking of Brown, double checking on the internet, Jackie Brown was in 1997, Pulp Fiction 1994. So, yes.
Okay.
So, this follows Pulp Fiction.
Sorry about it.
No reason to be. Yeah, right. You only know about the actual movie, not the needless details.
I watched the movies. That's all about. That's about all I know. But
Supposedly
yeah,
supposedly Jackie Brown was based off a book.
yeah, I've heard that. I know it's based off some other story. Like, it's not a completely original.
Yeah,
script.
apparently he changed like the main character from white to black. But
Yeah.
then, I was reading the author said it was the most brilliant screenplay adaptation of any of his works that he'd seen.
Yeah, a lot of people really love Jackie Brown. I do like Jackie Brown. It's not. It's one of my
Jesse
lesser...
Jackson didn't like Jackie Brown.
it is a strong like blaxploitation kind of film. This is kind of Tarantino's first foray into this genre.
Not to be his last.
Yeah, not to be his last. If you've seen it,
See, but he does it. He does it tongue in cheek. Like, he's not. I mean, if you're walking into it to get offended, you're obviously not smart enough to get his point.
he's intentionally. He knows he's offensive. Like that's You have to walk into it knowing that he knew he was offensive when he made it.
Well, he grew up in
Thinking
a
South
black
Park,
community.
yeah.
He grew up around black people. This is how he kind of learned dialogue. He learned from, this kind of community. So this is kind of how he feels comfortable writing and like kind of telling stories. But yeah, if you think about it, where it's a white guy writing these lines, and you can, I can imagine some people being offended by it, but you kind of have to just imagine that this guy is a storyteller, and you kind of have to just accept it for it.
Right.
But Jackie Brown is kind of his first foray into this. I mean, he does some things that can be like kind of racially charged in his previous movies, but this one is like the first one where he has characters throughout the entire movie. Like, this is a mostly black cast, like as far as the main characters go.
Right.
And in Jackie Brown, the scene that really kind of spoke to me is very similar to the one that I chose kind of for my number 4 spot with Inglorious Basterds. Number 3 was the setup for the main villain of this movie, who is played by Samuel L. Jackson. His name is Ordell Roby, and Ordell is an arms dealer, and he illegally kind of sells machine guns in this movie.
Right.
And at the very beginning, it kind of sets up his character as bailing out a friend of his.
Right.
He bails out a friend of his named Beaumont, who's played by Chris Tucker.
Right.
And
A very small Chris Tucker.
yeah,
Very skinny, yeah.
yeah,
For
very
sure.
small Chris Tucker.
I know it sounds shocking, but he did bulk up for Rush Hour. I mean, it's like he was huge in Rush Hour.
yeah, comparatively,
He's bulkier.
he is stacked.
Right.
But
Well, yeah, and, you know, whether or not you knew which came out first, odds are you saw Pulp Fiction before you saw Jackie Brown. I think that's fair to say, especially after the fact.
yeah, absolutely.
So-
I'd agree with that.
So I know
Most
personally, most people I feel probably saw Pulp Fiction first. I saw Pulp Fiction. I haven't seen all of Jackie Brown. I've only seen the scene, but you piqued my interest.
people- yeah,
But when you showed me the scene, I can't completely remove Samuel L. Jackson from his character in Pulp Fiction.
yeah,
So I'm
Similar
like rooting
characters.
for him
yeah,
to start. Because I don't know his character. So I will say that. That was one of the brilliance. And I know that Tarantino, knowing that this did in fact come out after Pulp Fiction,
Yeah.
played his audience for that. You know that to start this film, they're loving Samuel L. Jackson.
And he doesn't do a good job in all of his films as far as setting up these characters for being very complex. And you know,
Yes.
even the villains, you kind of see their intentions and you want to root for them. I mean, it's
Right.
not like
They're not cardboard. Not by any stretch of the
it's not like a level that like George R. Martin will go to,
like-
where you know every one of your characters has complete three-dimensionality. Where even the evil characters, you see their completely good intentions. But these characters are
Well, but
still.
you could argue that Quentin he gets sometimes more bang for his buck in terms of time invested.
Yeah,
You know, because if you think about it, you know, Martin has how much time
yeah,
for us to,
Absolutely.
to super quick segue, but when Kev and I started Game of Thrones, you know, Kev, like everyone else who watched, was like, the hell with Jamie Lannister. He needs to
Lannister's
die.
dick, yeah.
And I'm like, you know,
We were talking about that at dinner. Yeah,
Yeah.
within the first episode, Jamie Lannister is a twin sister, and he pushed a little kid out of a window. That
Yeah.
was
And
one
then-
episode.
that is
That's the
episode
first
one.
episode.
and I
Absolutely.
turned to Kevin and I was like, just wait. He will be one of your most favorite characters
Yeah.
towards the end of the series. Kevin called me a liar.
Yeah.
But to be fair, I would have
I'll
done
admit it, he's now one of my favorite characters.
Characters.
in the whole show.
So, and that's Martin gets to do that over,
Right.
like, what, two
Well,
seasons?
oh yeah, he gets to do it over
Three.
the three seasons
yeah.
of the show that are currently out.
No, I'm
Five
pretty sure
books.
at the end of the second season, Jamie Lannister kills a vaguely related Squire boy.
Yeah, like
That
someone
told
like
that
his
opened
cousin
up
or
to him about
something.
it was like his cousin. He opened up to remember. Oh man, I still remember being your Squire boy for the tournament, and it was like the proudest day of his life. And Jamie Lannister kills him. That was at the end of the second season. I was like,
Yeah,
nope,
you
I hate
still,
this person.
you still hate him at that point, and he still turns
And
around
he
somehow.
Still turns around.
And to avoid this turning into also a Game of Thrones spoiler,
Because
cast,
that'd be another
'cause
6-hour podcast.
We don't want to ruin
God.
multiple series for people in one series.
Spoiler: Jamie Lannister's mean.
But we do want to do an acapella cover of the intro real quick. But yeah, like the kind of setup for this villain, like also makes you like him at the same
Right.
time.
It's the
Because-
same way that Hans Landa had such utter respect that you couldn't help but admire him at first before you knew he's
Yeah,
really an utter
exactly.
tool.
You, sir, are a classy jerkwad.
Right.
Yeah,
So that's 100% Samuel L. Jackson. Ordell is his name?
yeah, Ordell.
That is Ordell to a T, because the first scene is him buying a bond to bail
Yeah.
out his friend.
Yeah,
Bondsman's
Bailout's
like, you
friend-
have the money, right? What are you doing?
Yeah.
Man, I'm a black man trying to bail someone out in jail with $10,000 in cash. You think they're going to let me walk out of that prison?
Not without asking a few questions.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
yeah,
he
yeah.
goes to the bail bondsman, and that's kind of where the scene opens. The scene opens right after he has bought the bail bond, and he is going to Beaumont's apartment to just kind of talk with him after he had got him out of jail.
Right.
So he goes up to Beaumont, played by Chris Tucker, and he just talks to him a little bit. He's like, good to see you out of jail, and like, just, real friendly about it. Just, what two friends would do if they had seen each other
Hadn't
for
seen
the
each other
first time in a long time.
Right.
And then, you kind of start to see Ordell's true character intentions come out, because first he's like, I don't want to be the kind of guy that asks another guy for a favor.
I don't want to be that N-word.
Yeah.
N-word.
To try and avoid, all of the different censors we're gonna have to throw on this.
Right.
I'm gonna just say the type of guy that that asks another guy for a favor and then bam hits that guy up for another favor. Right.
But I'm about to be the homie.
I'm about to be that guy.
I don't want to be a homie that, you know, does a favor for another homie, and then hits that homie up for a favor, but
I'm about to be that homie.
I'm about to be that homie.
So he asks Chris Tucker for a favor, and that's kind of how this scene starts off. He's asking him for this favor.
It first seems harmless.
Yeah, and he says, he doesn't want to go into the details of what the favor is, but he says, "I'm gonna need you to come with me. Why don't you get dressed? We'll go out." And Chris Tucker, like any good character, any character,
Like anybody in the real world,
any character that's not in a horror movie, and it's like, let's go check out what that sound is. Anyone who isn't that guy.
Is anybody home? Alright, well, I'm gonna hop in the shower then.
Anyone who isn't that girl in the
Right.
horror movie
Right.
is gonna say, you know, I think I'm gonna stay home tonight, you know?
He's like, man, I just got out of jail.
Yeah.
And he said, I'm high as hell right now.
Yeah.
So, no.
Yeah, so
gonna have to
Chris Tucker
decline,
does not
homie.
want to go with, and that's when you start to see Ordell's character kind of, you know, slip through the cracks, and he starts to get a little,
He starts getting a little
violent, but like he starts to get a little heated.
Right, he starts, insisting.
Yeah,
we'll
he
say.
says, "Did you think I wanted to spend $10,000 on you tonight? You think I wanted to, you know, spend that much money just to kind of get you out the door?" And that
He goes,
eventually,
and then Chris Tucker's like, "What? No, man, like, it's not that I don't appreciate what
Yeah.
you did."
yeah, and just like I know you mentioned this before, just like someone who's saying like, Did that really happen? Did that really happen? You know, like being very concerned about the truth, about some kind of story. Just, you know, is really skeptical in general
Right.
about something, and eventually being like, all right, if you're gonna be so insistent on it actually being the truth, I'll roll with you.
Well, it's one of those things where your friend keeps throwing it in your face, and the reason that it's a dick move is because it is undeniable. You're like, yeah man, like, that was super chill, like, I would not expect anybody to pay 10 G's.
Yeah,
And you did. Like, I can't deny it. Stop bringing it up.
Yeah, like
You're making me feel bad right
There-
now because I can't deny it.
See, there are a few times where, I mean, you have to be like a brother to somebody. Like, I mean, for me to not, because if by some terrible opposite of a miracle I end up in jail,
I'm not spending 10 G's.
My roommate's not
And that's
gonna
just
do that.
because I don't
Yeah.
even have 10
Yeah.
G's in my name.
Right.
I'm just gonna be real honest.
Well, like, so, I mean, there are maybe 3 people on the planet outside of my gene pool who I would not immediately skeptically look and go, what do you want?
yeah.
Right.
Like, cause that's not, you have to be a millionaire to just, like, blink
Right.
that money away.
Yeah, and it's apparent from the very beginning that Ordell is that guy. He is the millionaire who is throwing around this money because he can.
Right.
And it's really easy to be skeptical on that, and it makes sense for Chris Tucker's character to be like, I want to stay home tonight. But, like, he is convinced because, you know, $10,000 is a lot to maybe a character like...
Not to mention there's
he's
dirty
like,
money.
he's
Listen,
like...
you actually do, and the real reason he went to buy the bond is because that's all dirty money.
Yeah.
You actually do have to explain why does a African American gentleman from a really not good part of town,
Dog, why does any gentleman have $10,000?
Well, no, but I say,
cash?
but
Yeah.
we're going to assume this is a part of the country
Right,
where you know what, it's a crime-ridden area. They're going to look at you and go, you're from this neighborhood, you don't have an education. How the hell?
Right.
yeah.
Where are you getting this money?
Right.
Yeah.
So he's like, I got a bond.
So yeah, it's one of those things where like Chris Tucker's like, man, stop bringing it up. Like,
Yeah.
I get that you did this nice thing for me, but most people wouldn't ask me to go out right now on my first night of
Yeah.
freedom.
But yeah,
Ordell's insistent. He just
Ordell's
keeps beating it.
Ordell's insistence, on top of the fact that Ordell is obviously kind of like a boss type character to Beaumont,
Right.
and like kind of all of that
Like,
culminates to just
I
like
don't.
him
Does he say
convincing-
anything along the lines of "Have I steered you wrong, man"?
Yeah,
I think it
something,
alludes
something
to
along
that.
the lines of that, but it not exactly because I mean,
See, I feel like he's just strong arming him after a while. He's like, you know what, dude, you do owe me.
yeah,
This is not up for debate. Come with me.
I mean, at the same time, since Ordell is kind of the kingpin of, like selling and kind of distributing these machine guns, the fact that
I would be
the
hesitant to
machine
say
gun
no to it,
charges
yeah.
that Beaumont is on, and the fact that he went to jail in the first place because of machine gun possession, it's probably because of Ordell. So he probably steered him wrong. In the
That's the thing.
past.
There's only two groups
That's
of people
true.
no criminal enterprise will mess with most of the time. And there's the arms dealers and the foreign contact.
Uh-huh.
You know, that foreign contact could be, and the arms dealer could be really tight with your worst enemy. You don't touch that person. Because you know what? That arms dealer does business with everyone.
Right.
Yeah.
And Europe's a big place. Or I guess they could be
Anywhere.
Yakuza or something.
That's it.
Yeah. Anywhere else is a big place that you don't know. So.
Yeah.
Anyone who has guns that's big enough to
Right.
be
He
wary.
supplies you
Yeah,
guys.
right.
He supplies your worst enemies across the street. He
Really
supplies
mass
that other...
quantities of assault rifles. You don't question it.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I mean, and it is, yeah, so you guys are right. He starts strong on arms
Yeah.
at this point. And Ordell, and so shoot, what does Chris Tucker's, do they say his name?
It's Beaumont.
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 At this point, Beaumont's like, man, this mof ain't leaving
Yeah.
until I do this.
Fine.
Yeah.
So maybe if I just do this, he lets me enjoy my night.
Yeah.
So,
So he
he's
goes
like, fine,
downstairs.
bro, fine. Like,
Yeah.
I'll get dressed. So yeah, he gets dressed. They start heading downstairs. They start heading to,
To his car, to
Ordell.
Ordell's car.
Ordell's car.
And you know, one of the great things, the only scene that I had to put on this list that had it, even though it's a really important and iconic thing in Tarantino's kind of rule book, is
His repertoire.
His repertoire. It's his trunk shot, the trunk shot.
Yes, borrowed by
Yeah,
everyone's favorite movie.
yeah,
/ by movie, I mean TV show, Breaking Bad.
yeah. Breaking Bad did it. I
I'm
mean,
sure a lot of shows have done
a lot of people had to play off of it. I'm sure that it didn't start with this guy, but he did it in a
It's
lot of his
one of
movies.
those shots you can't get tired of.
Tarantino loved to do it in Reservoir Dogs. He did it in Jackie Brown. He did it in Pulp Fiction.
If that man can get a camera in a trunk, he does it.
He did it in Kill Bill. I remember in Volume 1 he definitely did it.
right.
Yeah. He does it in as much as he can. Any
Right.
movie that can have a car, if he was able to put a trunk in, Django, he
Right.
probably would have tried it.
But
But
you see
I'm
when
surprised
he-
we ain't having out of the horse's caboose at some
yeah.
point.
But the trunk shot shows where it shows Ordell opening up the trunk to his car. The camera is inside the trunk, pointing up at Ordell and Beaumont as they kind of have this conversation. And Ordell is convincing Beaumont to get in the trunk, hold his shotgun, and basically be his trump card.
Oh shoot, we
for this
skipped the
drug
whole
deal.
conversation on the way to the trunk. That's when he lays the groundwork. He's like, look, man, this should be bing bang boom, done job.
I'm doing some
just-
business with some Koreans.
Yeah.
This
so-
shouldn't be a problem. I
Yeah.
just don't know them, and you know me. I ain't gonna be going to nobody I don't know.
Well,
I
yeah,
got no
he
backup.
goes, he says,
Yeah,
you don't
that-
know just me. You know rule of thumb. He's like, you don't do business with somebody you don't know without a little backup.
Without a backup. That's a good way to wrap that whole conversation up. It's
Right.
just like he's trying to get some backup on this.
Because
That's all he
is
wants.
this, I'm pretty sure it's one shot from, oh no, because they cut to the trunk. It's for the most part one shot, this whole scene. But it's one shot from when he puts his clothes on and walks out the door to that when they get to the trunk.
Yeah, he does it very minimalist as far as the number of shots that he does in this. One where they're sitting upstairs just looking at them conversating. One shot as they pan as they walk across to the car. It's a really good shot of them kind of panning through from across the pool as you go past all of the.
Right. It
all
gives
the
you a good
things.
sense of setting.
It is really good. It's a really urban environment. It looks really dilapidated, and it's just kind of a messed up area that they're in. It is a really. I mean, I don't think this is a tense scene, which is kind
Not
of
yet.
one. Yeah, I mean it. I think that
No, the shot kind of makes
reason-
this
It
is
was
business as usual.
humorous at this point. 'Cause
Yeah.
It's Chris Tucker. The guy's funny.
He's sitting there, he's grumbling, he's like, this is bull crap.
Right,
this is
right.
Stupid. I just
Yeah.
want to get high. This is
Right.
pulling that shit.
I think one of my favorite
Yeah.
parts about it is that it doesn't ever get that tenseness almost throughout the whole scene.
Right.
You kind of start to get suspicious.
Even when he
near the end.
gets into the trunk, the only time you start to suspect anything is right after he goes, I'm not going in the trunk. He's like, you going in the trunk. And that it goes back and forth for a little bit. And then he goes, fine. Hops in the trunk, takes a shotgun. I slightly knew something was up when Jackson almost bonked his head, shutting the door.
Yeah.
He's like, "You in my head!"
Slammed it really hard.
Yeah, so, okay, so they walk across, to put all this in perspective, as they're walking, he goes, look, some Koreans shouldn't be a problem. You know Koreans, they never want no trouble, but I don't know them. Rule of thumb, you bring backup.
Yeah.
So they get to the trunk, opens up the trunk, he's like, look, man, pulls out a shotgun out of the trunk.
Yeah.
Look, man, I need you to get in this trunk right now. I need you to hold this shotgun.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell the Koreans I got the supply in the trunk.
Yeah.
And when I open up the trunk, you're going to pop out. You're going to point this gun at me. You're going to cock it. Look, it's not even loaded. It's like, you're not going to have to do anything. You're just here to shock them and let them know I mean business. That's all it is. That's all you got to do.
And he convinced him to do that.
Right? Why I gotta be in your stinky ass trunk?
Yeah. He's like, look,
90
man, I'll just ride shotgun with you.
He's like, surprise is 90% of this.
Yeah. He's like, why
Okay.
I gotta be in your... He's like, look at this trunk. This is dirty. I'm not getting your dirty ass trunk. He's like, look, man, if you don't have the trunk, surprise is 90% of this. Yeah. He's like, all it is the surprise factor. And
It would have been
so-
funny, but like, you just a jack in a box. That's all you do.
Right, essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Basically, yeah.
Which we'll get back to the Jack in the Box. So, yeah, so this goes back and forth for like 3 minutes. I don't know, probably not
Yeah.
that long, but...
Well, you can just see him wearing
with
them
some
down.
chicken and
slowly.
waffles.
So
of course,
just-
some Tarantino fashion. It's a little, it's a little racially charged.
Look,
Some
man,
people
we
could
go
be
to
offended by it,
Roscoe's.
but he's gonna ask. He's gonna say, you get in this trunk, get you some.
Dude, a
Roscoe's
white
chicken
man
waffles.
would have been convinced by that argument. Just
I would
saying.
be convinced by that.
Yeah,
I'd be in
right.
trouble.
So yeah,
So-
just like convincing him to go out, he wears him down and is steadily more insistent. He's
Yeah.
like, look, man, you're getting in this trunk.
Ordell knows how to play people. It's very
Right.
apparent by this scene.
Right.
So he gets him into the trunk, closes it up, and this is when the tension starts to build slightly. But
Right.
still he keeps it subdued the entire scene.
Right.
Like the entire scene, it still is just like you're curious on what's going to happen, but you're not worried exactly.
Right.
But he keeps it all in one shot after he exits the interior of the car. So you sit inside the interior of the car. You see Ordell kind of sitting in the car. He's just really calm, moving really slowly, just kind of methodical about everything.
Right.
He turns on the car. He puts in his tape. Strawberry Letter 23 by Buzz Johnson plays. This is I fell in love with the song after this scene. This song starts to play as
I have to say personally, Kiemo, for me, second favorite use of music on your whole top 5.
Oh yeah, this is a great one.
This was a great song, yes, and this is when the tension starts.
Yeah, this is and it's weird because it's a very relaxed song, and it just it should calm you down at this point because it is one of those ones that you're just
it's too relaxed.
This is really
though.
Cool. This is
it's
really
too
cool.
relaxed. This guy's going on a gun deal. What?
Yeah, and maybe it kind of exemplifies the fact that this character is just
Something's
a bit too
loose.
cool. This
is business as usual, dog.
This is business as usual, and that should scare you more at this point.
Right.
And so, he's listening to this song as he puts on his leather gloves.
The gloves, dude. Yep.
Gloves.
That's red flag number 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Why is he
not-
putting on leather gloves?
Yeah, you shouldn't need to put leather gloves on for a drug deal. This is a
Gun deal.
Gun deal.
Right.
Contraband sale of illegal.
Yeah, some kind
materials.
of illegal exchange.
Right.
And then he opens up the glove compartment, takes out a revolver, checks the rounds.
This is now
Yeah.
you're tense.
Now I'm a bit tense. He puts the car into drive, drives off, and that's when the one shot
But to
starts.
me, I still wasn't sure of his intentions though.
So yes, I looked at
Because now I'm still
Yeah.
thinking maybe he's checking it. Of course he's gonna have a piece on him just in case.
Yeah.
The Koreans try.
This
something.
is still business as usual. He is not. He's not giving anything away because of how relaxed his demeanor is.
Right.
And at the same time, everyone should, if you're doing these kind of illegal sales, you should have a gun.
Fine. Yeah, you gotta have something on you.
This is all still believable
Aside from
within
the
the
guns you're
vein of, a normal job.
Right.
And then it kind of cuts to this one shot.
Right.
And the one shot is kind of the thing that sells this whole thing. And I really like this scene because of how it ends. It's all one shot from the perspective of, the backside of the car, kind of looking on as the car as it drives down the road. And then as the camera slowly pans up, to reveal that the car makes a left-hand turn and then another left-hand turn immediately into a vacant lot that's right next to the apartment that he stopped at.
Right.
This is obviously not where the drug deal is taking place, or the gun deal.
Right.
And he stops within this lot, and the music that's playing iconic throughout the whole scene. It slowly pans out and fades away.
You know what?
As you
We
drive
glossed
away.
over.
What did we gloss over?
We glossed over the trope, the classic trope, where this happens in so many movies. This is just Tarantino, but the classic thing where the person puts in a tape.
Yeah.
What was a tape? 8-track tape.
Yeah, he had regular tape. Yeah.
Probably gonna have a little fuzz to it, but not this tape. This is a magic tape.
This
because
is
what happens is right
5.1.
when Samuel L. Jackson hits play, or every other character in every other movie where they're using an old medium, hits play on the tape deck, all of a sudden the director obviously cuts in a remastered, fully digital, well, back then probably not digital, but fully remastered version in surround sound.
And we know that Tarantino is not a big fan of the HD kind of push, and he doesn't really like all of the high definition stuff that's happened. He kind of likes the old filmy, just that kind of feel of his old movies.
But it sounds too clear. And this isn't even a knock, because I get why they do it. But it's just funny, because you're like, they push play, like, oh wow, that song sounds great right now, it's bumping. Yeah. And then it makes kind of sense when you're watching him within the car put on the gloves, but then all of a sudden it cuts to outside the car, and the song sounds just as clear.
People demand this level of quality from it, but like at the same time, like Pulp Fiction had like a scene with like Uma Thurman's character like videotaping something on an old black and white camera, and like it's still good definition, like all that stuff. Like it kind of takes you out of it if you think about too much about it, but that's kind of what tropes do,
right?
And
exactly. It's thinking about it too hard. And I'm not knocking it because the song is so good. You don't want it in the crappy 8-track quality literally play out. Like, as he drives away, it's gonna get... The point is that the song builds with the scene.
Also, Tarantino, he always tightropes this thin balance between surrealism and that kind of like wide-eyed innocence you put faith into stories just to be... You know, like
you're having fun at the movies.
Yeah.
Come on.
But then he's like, okay, but I need to have enough of this, not completely BS,
right?
You know, so he
honestly, he
walks that tightrope. He does.
Now that you put it that way, he does. He walks the tightrope between the Dark Knight remix of pop culture, where everything is super surreal, too serious.
We're not going to have the Sean Connery fist fighting. James Bond now fights like Jason Bourne,
right? He blends, the super surreal with the fun at the movies. And that's because, he is such a fan of, classic cinema and those tropes. And his whole goal is to bring those to the new generation.
Yeah, he needs to make sure that the new people understand why the old movies were so good, but then he also needs to make sure that he's
breaking ground a little bit.
They remain in their stasis of reality, that they think, like, when I watch a movie, I expect it to be real. And that's not, like, what every movie needs to be about, but, like, some people want that level of that every time.
I like the way Mike put it. He walks a good tightrope.
Yeah, exactly.
Of both, and that's what he does that most people don't. They go one or the other.
Yeah. And so like that music playing as the car drives away is really great, because like you think, oh, the scene's ending. The music is fading out.
Right.
The scene's about to kind of
wrap
itself up.
Right.
And it makes that left-hand turn. And the music is almost gone at this point. And then you see the camera pan up, and you're like, okay, it's panning up to kind of see the car drive away. It's kind of extending this drive away scene. It's just a little weird. But then you see it make that second left-hand turn and bring itself back into the foreground of the scene.
Right.
And the music starts to come back in. You're like, this scene isn't over yet. And this is your real red flag that should really turn you on to saying, there is something going on in this scene that... that might have been kind of hinted at, but this is really where it's kind of driving itself home. And that's when the music is playing at full blast again as it kind of gets close to the scene. It's still like, it's pretty far back. You're only seeing it from, a good distance away still. Right. But then the music stops as the car stops, and you see from a distance Ordell getting out of the car, walking around to the back of the trunk and opening up the trunk, and you hear Chris Tucker's voice as he's yelling and complaining as he normally would in the previous parts of the scene.
Yeah. Man, it's stanky in here. I don't know what even yelled. I don't know, to be honest. But yeah, something along those lines. That's when the Jack in the Box.
Hand, all that stuff.
It's the reverse Jack in the Box.
Yeah.
He gets like 2 words out before.
The surprise is on the outside of the Jack in the Box this time.
You see, he gets out, come on, man. And then,
bang!
And then Samuel L. pulls out the revolver or whatever it was that he had been loading.
The revolver. And 2 quick shots, throws the gun into the trunk of the car and closes the trunk again, gets back in, turns on the car, and the music continues to play as he drives away, and the music fades out for one final time. So it's really great as far as like kind of the...
Ooh, is that, you know what? Is that how it cuts? Because it fades out as he drives away.
Yeah.
It comes louder again because you think the scene's ending, and that's the beauty of the one shot is the way that it plays out this thought progression in the audience's mind.
Yeah.
So he drives away and the music fades out because he thinks the scene's over. He hangs left, and some music starts to grow. He hangs another left, and the music gets louder, and he does kill. I think he kills it when he gets out to shoot him.
He does kill it when it gets out.
Because he's trying to make him think, oh, we're there, but obviously he drove like 10 feet. So he kills it and the music cuts out, and that's when the tension is like at an all-time high, and that's why you hear the gunshots. You hear boom, boom right after you hear him
pop, and then throws the gun in the trunk, and you hear right after he shoots twice, like in any kind of urban neighborhood. If you're firing off gunshots, you're gonna get these dogs barking. You hear these dogs barking in the background as there's unrest in the town, and then he drives away and
his silence is quick.
Makes it happen so quickly. Yeah, it's
that's
done.
One thing about the little bit impoverished regions is the dogs go crazy, but nobody else.
Yeah, everyone else's business as usual.
Well, it's one of those things where you can never ever pin the actions and the crime issues of a group on. I mean, obviously on genetics, on necessarily geographical location, but they're humans are adaptable if anything. So, you just as if if a tricked out Ferrari rode down Apache Boulevard. We're going to notice. It's going to be like, what? In the Hamptons? Right. So...
Yeah, they're just... they're a creature of their environment.
It's like, pop, pop. Yeah. Well, somebody...
Come on, you hear that every night, You're like, that sucks. I'm not down with that, but it's every night.
Plus, you got to wonder, though. Again, I'm reading into fictional characters that don't actually exist. But how many people in that apartment complex know what's up?
Yeah. Oh yeah,
how many people are like, yeah, man, I got one last bowl from that dude because he's dead after tonight.
Oh yeah, the next day when he's not there, especially because he hasn't been there, and they're like, oh, he just got out of jail, cool. Everyone noticed him being there.
Yeah.
After not being there while he was in jail, so then the next day when he's gone, they're like,
because that's one of the most fun things for me to look at in a story where it deals with crime or it deals with a lot of fluid existence of life in any society. There are these rules that everybody kind of understands, and so especially with hardened criminals, repeat offenders, people who, or worse even, the guys who don't actually go to jail for a while, the ones who are good at their job. There's a standard. There's an operandi or modus operandi about this stuff. There is a standard operating procedure that has to have happened. So everybody knows that the kingpin's not going to throw $10,000 to some 2-bit whack job.
Yeah.
Unless he's got something in it for him.
Right. Yeah.
And you know what? I don't want any favors from the kingpin.
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah, you probably don't. Yeah.
I could go, you know what? I'm pretty desperate if I'm having to call him that favor.
To be honest, though, that's why I feel for Chris Tucker's character, because you can tell that he is a little bit sketched the whole time.
He is skeptical for a reason, for a good reason.
He's skeptical for a good reason, and he's trying to turn him down. But the thing is,
you don't turn down the kingpin.
You don't turn down the kingpin, and he's not leaving until he gets what he wants.
Yeah.
So you can tell that after a while, he realizes, all I can do is play along. and hope this ends well.
Yeah, see, it's almost the same interaction with the same character as the last scene because it's like you don't say no to this guy,
right?
But how do you interact with this guy and get out alive?
Right.
You know, how do you make it out alive?
That's why this scene is, I like it because it's essentially a similar scene to the Inglorious Basterds scene.
Yeah.
But like you were saying before, the tension doesn't build till later. But when you repeat watch it, it becomes a completely different scene. Like when you go back now and see it with the frame of mind that you know who Ordell is.
Yeah.
The whole scene is tense at that point.
Tell me you don't immediately look at him going, okay, he threw 10 grand randomly to get this dude out of jail. He's offering up a big-time lawyer.
See, maybe. I didn't think about it that hard, though. At the time, I was like...
Yeah, it's like...
See, I didn't. It slipped my mind until he started, you know what, I hate to be that guy.
Right.
And the moment that happened, I'm like, wait a minute. I mean, granted, I did not expect him to pull a gun.
But then again...
I expected him to be like, you know, okay, well, you're going to need to actually earn your keep. Like, he needed...
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of like...
Yeah, I was about to say that. I was like, maybe you just think he needs an expendable soldier more than he needs...
Yeah. Well, it's I mean, and that really is, like, if you... I'm not familiar with a lot of African-American gang culture in that regard. I don't know about the code of honor that goes from gang to gang, region to region, but for the mafia, for the familia, you did not undertaken a favor from the Godfather lightly. As corny as that trope that Coppola has made it, you didn't. Yeah. It was a real deal. And if you did a service for the Don,
right?
And you know, it was within reason. Like you couldn't go kill yourself. You know,
this is some Jack and Agar
stuff. Yeah. But you didn't do that lightly. And so, I can think of a couple of instances where people who needed help turned it down.
Right.
Because...
Well, yeah. Here's the thing where Chris Tucker's character, I sympathize with him because he was basically coerced. But at the same time, he wasn't the smartest because if he was a smart man, assuming he already accepted can you turn down a bail?
You can. I mean, most people don't think
of it.
Well,
okay, assuming he accepted the bail.
Oh, all the time, dude. You know how many mafia informants got bailed out? And we're like, wait a minute. No.
Yeah.
So,
my family didn't do that.
Assuming he already accepted the bail, a smart Chris Tucker says, look, dude, you shoot me right here and drag my body to your trunk.
Well, see, it's assumed, I don't think they ever really say, but that Chris Tucker's character was devoted to the cause at all times. He was never, like, against Ordell or anything like that.
No.
He was just, on the side, he was doing his job, but Ordell was, tying loose ends at this point.
Right.
And this is just going to show, and the reason why I like it, this scene is because Ordell is shown as, like, a completely efficient businessman kind of character.
Just like, a lot like
he's a sociopath.
He's a lot like Christoph Waltz in
a lot of ways. He's just doing his job, and he's making sure that nothing comes back to bite him. Okay. So he's taking care of every little kind of thing.
So who's more devious?
Honestly, I hate to... Ooh, that's a good question. I need to watch the rest of Jackie Brown before I know. I would say it's a lot like Walt from Breaking Bad. I hate to bring it back to Breaking Bad, but honestly, Breaking Bad takes a lot of cues from Quentin.
So well.
Yeah.
In fact, I saw a Tumblr post comparing scene by scene. I was telling you about this.
You gotta show me that.
I'll look it up after we're done with this. But yeah, Breaking Bad in the same way where Walt is just efficient. He's cruelly. Is cruelly a word? No. But he's cruelly efficient. Like, these guys are paying the price, but he's not killing good people.
Yeah.
Which is totally rationalization, don't get me wrong. But it's the same concept where you're like, you can't help but admire it, but at the same time it isn't right, obviously.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and I've had this question brought up to me. How different is that from a general? I mean...
Right, they make decisions on a large scale that...
I mean, we like to dress...
a lot of people.
We like to dress it up, but it is literally unavoidable.
Right.
Yeah.
But different rules apply to war. Like, you know what I mean?
Oh, of course. But not
Ordell doesn't have to be an arms dealer,
Yeah, exactly. Well, and that's where, and then depending, I mean, we can go into that.
It's like Ordell's not to be an arms dealer, but if there's going to be war, we have to have a general.
Yeah, he is saving one life at the expense of one life, while like a general might be saving you thousands and
millions at the expense.
Well, and there were tons of. I mean,
it's like that's the thing that a lot of people that like are against the nuke don't realize. It's like I don't know the statistics. They probably took what? I don't even think they took 1 million lives with a nuke.
Oh, it's no, maybe a couple 100,000.
A couple 100,000,
actually,
which
not even.
It's just. I mean, obviously, it's not a good decision.
I mean,
but they estimate that it would have been 1 million at least from either side.
Oh,
yeah.
Just because back in those days, the Japanese leaders were very militaristic, and they were very much of the old-fashioned. Yeah, Bushido. Every fight to the last man.
Yeah.
So they weren't going to give up, and we were going to keep sending troops to the coast.
Well, I'll take it a step further. We don't want 2 Germanys at the end of World War II.
Yeah.
And
Japan was just as
if you
devious.
think we're bad, if you think our Marines landing on that on the big island makes a bloodbath, what about the Russians?
Yeah.
Right.
Ask the Germans how that went.
That's what people don't realize is that nobody killed more Russians than Stalin, which we won't digress there. But it's just interesting.
That's
to
another
think about.
podcast.
Well, no, German soldiers and even Nazi politicians.
I think nobody killed more Jews than Stalin.
Exactly. Stalin killed more Jews than Hitler without trying.
That's
but like Germans were running across the border to our side, yelling, "No, Ivan! No, Ivan!" Like, please, for the love of God, do not. I'm a Nazi piece of crap. I know that. I admit it. But do not let them capture me. So that being said, it's one of those things where, yeah, it sucks. And granted, how Ordell probably rationalizes it is like, I'm protecting my organization. A lot of people go to jail if this guy doesn't die.
Yeah.
There's more bloodshed.
Right.
I mean, the balance.
Let's be honest, he's degenerate.
Yeah,
it's probably.
He's making sure that the least amount of trouble comes out of this.
And depending on the neighborhood, granted, this is all conjecture on our part. We don't know the dynamics of the neighborhood.
But hey, this is a credit to Tarantino that we're even going.
The fact that we're talking about this, but Ordell may actually, or the character Ordell might look at us and go, "Hey, you guys don't know anything because if I go down, there's a power vacuum. And a power vacuum means fighting, and fighting means death.
Right.
I killed that one dude.
Right."
And I prevented a lot. And so they're actually, and I need to find out where this talk was, but it was talking about how a lot of kingpins and drug lords and whatnot, they actually start off with good intentions, as stupid as that sounds. And that's how the mafia actually started. It was literally protection, not in the snarky, like smug, like pay protection kind of. No, they literally were. They were protecting from other ruffians.
Yeah.
And you paid a dividend. It was insurance.
Yeah.
You were an insurance company that used muscles instead of lawyers. That's
right.
So that was. So,
back then, forensics weren't going to track the murderers down.
No, it was. I grabbed the guy we thought did, pulled out his teeth until he admitted it.
Right.
He left a trail of blood here. Oh, gross.
Wait, let me pull out my black light. The blood wasn't convincing, but the semen trail was just...
Oh, man. We went there.
So, okay.
And that basically just wraps out the Jackie Brown scene.
Some in-depth. You want frivolous and in-depth.
Yeah, this is
so
frivolous on a whole
Kiemo,
level.
Let me sum up the Jackie Brown scene. Correct me and add. So the summary of the Jackie Brown scene, it makes it so great. Use of camera angle.
Yeah.
Can we say? Because the way they use the last shot
Yeah.
is your thought process, literally.
Yeah. Increases in tension by that one shot kind of style.
Right. Also, the scene doesn't play out like you thought it was.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
I mean, at least for me.
Pretty unexpected, I would say, for sure.
For sure.
He slips it in.
Good setup for that efficiency of the villain.
I hate to quote Talia al Ghul, but
the slow knife.
I mean, literally, like the
You hate to quote a character that shouldn't be in a movie.
Yeah.
Then why are you quoting the Jewish girl? No, I'm just kidding. From Inglorious Basterds. I'm kidding.
Well, but think about it. Like, and any self-defense person will tell you it's not the super big roundhouse kick that can break down the door that you got to worry about. It's the hit to the back of your head.
Right.
Yeah.
You don't see anything coming.
Right. I think that's and that's the difference between the tension in this movie or in this scene as opposed to Inglorious Basterds. You don't feel this tension coming, so it kind of hurts. All of a sudden, you're like, Samuel L., I loved you since Pulp Fiction.
Bang.
Yeah, that tension was brought up like kind of all of a sudden.
What if he changed his name and became an arms dealer?
Okay, no, come on. No Malcolm in the Middle is Walton Witness Protection Program in these scenarios.
Yeah.
So, and then lastly, the reason that scene is great because it builds up character development of Ordell.
Yeah, great start to that kind of movie. Really great setup for this character because you really do see how efficient and cold and calculating this guy can be. So it really lets you know what Jackie Brown and what the rest of the cast is kind of up against.
Right.
When
And it still demonstrates that he may not even be malicious. In a way.
Yeah.
He's practical and
sorry, man.
He's practical in a morally clearly wrong way, but in a logically hard to argue way.
Yeah, we'll never know if Ordell really had any kind of true camaraderie with Beaumont.
Right.
We never really get to see that. We get to see that he at least could act in a really friendly way, towards him. But we don't know if that was just an act or if he had to do this, for the protection of his company or
honestly,
just himself.
Let's not go into this, but the way I equate it is it's kind of like with Eddard Stark, clearly doing what was right.
Yeah.
But not doing what was logical.
Yeah.
Ordell's opposite. He's clearly doing what is logical. And like Mike said, for all the reasons, he doesn't want to create a power vacuum. And more deaths probably will occur if he goes down than if he puts down Chris Tucker's character.
Yeah.
But clearly it's wrong from a moral standpoint.
Yeah.
You can't argue that.
Well, that sounds interesting as hell. I'd love to get into
right.
Yeah,
so we got to move on from Jackie Brown, guys.
Which brings us to number two.
Number two on the list.
Holy cow, guys. When we started this podcast, we did not intend to run this long, but like Tarantino, we got a little carried away with ourselves. So, just look at this as kind of like a Kill Bill situation. He filmed Kill Bill as one movie, but then all of a sudden it was 4.5 hours long, so he's like, well, I guess I might as well split this into 2 movies and release them a couple months apart. For your listening pleasure, though, you'll only have to wait a week, so if you guys were enjoying the Tarantino discussion, be sure to tune in next Thursday, and catch the conclusion and catch the final 2 movies, and we thank you guys for bearing with us and giving us your time, and we'll talk to you guys then.
Shit, of all the fucking things she could fucking forget, she forgets my father's watch! I specifically reminded her. Bedside table, on the kangaroo. Said the words, don't forget my father's watch.